the live stream already with a comment. He says this live is about to be fire. You are right. Because think about it. Think about what we're going to talk about today, right? Look at the title from the beginning all the way to the end. You could start reading it like Arabic from right to left, right? Because that's the sequences of reading in Arabic, right to left, rather than the English literature version of reading from left to right. But if you read it from right to left, it's talking about April 29th, which is today, and 1992. Now, what happened during that time? Obviously, the Rodney King riots, right? Now, let's think about this, right? Ever since the Rodney King riots, has anything really changed since then in terms of race relations in California? I mean, California, even way before uh, Rodney King, was extremely volatile in terms of, in terms of racism, in terms of race relations. Aaron Maga says, "Is Strickland scared?" Um, Scared in what way? Right? Because I'm glad that you asked that question, right? Because that is the one thing that I hear a lot of people say about this whole entire thing, right? MMA Joey, for example, is hinting at the fact that Sean Strickland wants out of this fight. Now, the question is, why would Strickland want out of this fight? He is getting an opportunity that most men in his weight division are gunning for. Okay, especially with an opportunity like this. He's not going to miss that. So is he scared to fight Khamzat? No more than the next guy that you see in the regional scenes that's sitting in the locker room minutes before his fight, just sweating bullets. Okay, no pun intended to this particular topic, but yeah, sweating bullets, right? Everybody gets nervous during a fight. Everyone. That's Sean Strickland included, Khamzat Shamayev included, Brock Lesnar included, Conor McGregor included, and Khabib Nurmagomedov included. To all of that, right? All of your favorite fighters, they are all scared before going into a fight. Not scared, but nervous of the unknown. Okay. Now, is Sean Strickland scared of Khamzat in terms of the cage? No. However, Sean Strickland put it in his mind that Khamzat Chimaev is a terrorist. Khamzat Chimaev hangs out with ruthless dictators that have made people disappear, that have unalived people, and on top of that, people who are capable of extremely dangerous things when it comes to firearms. Okay, now here's the interesting thing about this, right? Why is Khamzat Chimaev in the United States? Because if you remember, he was barred from coming to the United States. It's because of Donald Trump. Let's just be honest about it, right? For better or worse, regardless of what you feel about him, I have my own opinions on Donald Trump, both negative and positive. But the one fact remains is that Khamzat Chimaev is currently in the United States because of Trump. Now, in Sean Strickland's mind, he's thinking this is a security issue because Khamzat Shomayev should not be in here. I'm talking about the mind of Sean Strickland, not my mind. For me, I love that Khamzat Shomayev is in California, out of all places, right? Like, I wish, let me tell you something, guys. If there were more Chechens that came to California, I guarantee you gang banging and the gang culture out here would get a lot worse. It would get a lot worse because they would either start their own faction, okay, with a state that is already filled with gangs, from Latino gangs, Hispanic gangs to Asian gangs and black gangs and all of that, right? But imagine if the Chechens decided they wanted to come in here and mingle with, I don't know, the Armenians, right? That could be a potential alliance that they have. Although, let's not get fooled by the relationship between Armin Sarukian and Khamzat Chimaev, because there is a lot of volatile tension that comes from the Armenian community as well as the Muslim community. But they are dangerous people. The Chechens are dangerous people, not just in the ring, but also outside of it, because many of them are trained in firearms training. And for Khamzat Chimaev to be around here, I mean, it wouldn't be that hard for him to run across anybody in California that would, sell him a firearm, whether that would be by means of illegal um, ways or legal means, right? I don't know how Khamzat Shemaev could, obtain a firearm, but I would assume it's because he doesn't have a criminal record whatsoever, other than the fact that he's classified as somebody that is friends with a ruthless dictator. However, obviously, with the help of Dana White and having friendships in the White House, Khamzat Chimaev is in the United States training in California. And not only is he training in California, he has an opportunity to fight in New Jersey, just like he had an opportunity to fight in Chicago to beat Dricus Duplessis, for his first title win. So is Sean Strickland scared? Yes, he's scared outside of the cage, right? But at the same time, I think a lot of this also is just nothing but bravado. Let's just be honest about this, right? Sean Strickland is all about bravado, like most fighters. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just what it is. Now, is Sean Strickland a little bit crazy compared to, let's say, other fighters? Of course he is. He's a little bit, kooky in the head. Okay, like most fighters. But at what level? At what level is he kooky enough? At what level is he crazy enough to, let's say, do something that is going to be detrimental to his life, his freedom, and more importantly, his opportunity in having a championship? So, what I'm saying, and the assessment that I want to give everybody here, because I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be very concerned about this. They're going to be very concerned of the fact that this fight may not go through because of the volatile situation that is going on right now. I'll tell you what this reminds me of. Muhammad Ali, when he fought Joe Frazier in the Thrilla in Manila, he pulled up in his hotel room. Okay, it was a high-story building, a hotel in Manila. Pulls up, and Joe Frazier is in the balcony looking down at uh, at Muhammad Ali at the lobby level, and he's shooting a gun in the air. Muhammad Ali, he's shooting a gun in the air in Manila to scare Joe Frazier. Think about that. Now, why did Muhammad Ali do that? Obviously, Muhammad Ali was not out to shoot Joe Frazier, right? He was there to hype up the fight. Oh my goodness, Muhammad Ali shot a gun in the air to scare Joe Frazier. You damn right. You damn right. Was it out of hatred? Now, I know that the way that they sort of I know the way that they sort of marketed that fight with Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali. There was a lot of hatred and animosity, right? Very similar to what you're experiencing right now with Sean Strickland and Khamzat Chimaev. However, the one thing that I can be confident about that Muhammad Ali was not going to go through the ultimate with that whole thing is the fact that they were friends outside of the ring. When Muhammad Ali dodged a draft, okay, and was not able to fight for you know um, a certain amount of time, Joe Frazier gave him some money. A lot of people don't know that. Now, I don't know how real that is because I watched the Will Smith Muhammad Ali movie, right? And that is what was depicted. Muhammad Ali shows up in Philadelphia. He gets in a car with Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier hands him a load of cash, like what you would do with a friend who's in need, right? And you got to think maybe their relationship is not as volatile as you think it is. Maybe it's not as volatile as you think it is. So that's the chance that we have when it comes to saying that there's no way Muhammad Ali was going to fire that weapon uh, directly at Joe Frazier with the intent to kill him, because obviously, if that was the case, there would have been no fight. Now, with Sean Strickland, I'm going to say just about the same thing, right? There is animosity there, but the animosity is towards competition. Although there is a political angle to this, right? Because obviously Sean Strickland is calling Khamzat Chimaev a Chechnyan whore. He's saying that you ran away from this ruthless dictator in Chechnya, only to come back only because he wanted to offer you a G wagon, okay, a G wagon Benz. Now all of a sudden you come crawling back to him, right? So there's a political angle there. But let's take a look at the psychology of Sean Strickland. Let's be honest about this, right? Sean Strickland is not an ideologue in any kind of way. You know how I know this? Let's delve into the psychology of Sean Strickland, why I know he's not an ideologue and why he doesn't believe any of his BS, right? He's not. Okay, let me give you a definition of an ideologue. Okay, so obviously David Koresh, if you guys remember from the Waco, Texas situation back in the 90s. So we're kind of going back into the 90s with this one, right? We're going with Waco, Texas. Now we're talking about the anniversary of April 29th, 1992 LA riots. So yeah, all right. David Koresh, he's an ideologue, okay? So much so that he was willing to fight the federal government on whatever cause he was fighting behind. Osama bin Laden was an ideologue. Okay, regardless of what you think of these people, regardless if you think these people were horrible, regardless of whatever, I'm trying to give you an example of what an ideologue is. The German painter from World War II, which I need not mention. I mean, for crying out loud, I mentioned the other guy's name. I don't mention this guy, but you know that that's volatile to even bring up in the first place. Okay, but he was an ideologue. He really believes and stands on what he believes, and he died for it. Okay, all these other guys that I had mentioned, Koresh, David Koresh, Osama bin Laden, the Austrian painter, all these guys died for their beliefs. Okay, they are ideologues. The January 6th guys, they are ideologues. They truly believed in their minds that the election was stolen, that democracy and the Constitution and the American way of life was threatened. So they decided to go do something about it. That is an ideologue. Sean Strickland is none of these things. He's not an ideologue. He was never an ideologue when he was running with neo Nazis in Orange County in California. He's not an ideologue when he gives you his political opinions because he doesn't really understand or know exactly what it is that he's saying. He said to Bilal Muhammad that the Palestinians should just know their role and bow down to a greater military or a military that's more superior or whatever, because you're only going to get yourself hurt, right? Only to backtrack on that and say, yeah, you know what, maybe these guys are not, really, cut out in a way that I think they would be. I'm talking about that particular country in the Middle East, if you know what I'm talking about, right? So he doesn't believe in anything. And Sean Strickland just shoots from the hip, says what he wants to say, without really having any type of critical thinking behind it. This is Sean Strickland in a nutshell. So, in other words, what I'm trying to say to you, long story short, is that all of this is nothing more than just pure bravado on the part of Sean Strickland and pure bravado on the part of talking about bringing out a gun. And you know what? Listen, here's the thing, right? I think there is a chance that he's doing this out of promotion. But here's the thing: how cognizant is Sean Strickland when it comes to knowing that, hey, you know what, we got to get WWE a little bit here, right? We got to make a play. We got to make some sort of commotion, the type of commotion that uh, provokes people into watching or provokes people into checking out, hey, what is going on here? This guy's talking about he's got a gun, and they're about to fight in a week. Okay, I'm going to watch now, right? Maybe that's what he's doing. He's compelling people to watch these fights. But we don't know. We don't know if that is the case. We don't know if that is the reason behind why he's doing any of these things. But make no mistake, by the end of it all, let's just talk in reality, okay? It's going to be fight week after this May 2nd. Obviously, there's going to be a UFC card this weekend. It's going to be JDM taking on Pratis. by the way, in Perth, Australia, right? They're going back to the Rack Center in Perth, Australia. So, and then also there's David Benavidez and Ramirez going at it for um, a boxing match going. I believe David Benavidez is moving up to cruiserweight, so that should be fun. So this fight week is going to go through. Then next thing you know, it's going to be the UFC's turn on the fight week of May 9th and days prior to May 9th, and it's going to go smoothly. Okay, they're going to have a press conference. It's going to be very volatile. They're going to have extra security there, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Okay, there is nothing more, nothing less with that. Everything else that Sean Strickland is doing right now is just bravado. And guess what? Everything that I'm doing to present this to you, everything that I'm doing on the thumbnails, everything that I'm doing on the titles, it's literally to just compel you to watch this channel, to watch this content. But while you're watching it, I'm going to tell you the truth. And the truth is, this is all just bravado. Sean Strickland doesn't truly believe in anything. Sure, he has opinions of Khamzat as a whore or this, that, or the other. But quite honestly, be honest with me, guys. Does Sean Strickland really strike you as somebody who stands on principles? Because the way that people look at his former neo-Nazi affiliations, his former neo-Nazi past, they sort of toss it up as, you know what? He's now a reformed person. He's no longer a racist. He's no longer that person that Edward Norton was in the beginning of American History X, right? That's sort of what they compare Sean Strickland to as an American History X character. If you remember, Edward Norton became a hardcore neo Nazi street gang leader. On top of that, he rose through the ranks, went to prison, got reformed, and decided he didn't want to be a racist anymore. So, in other words, became a gang dropout. And that is what Sean Strickland is in a nutshell. But the fact of the matter is, Sean Strickland doesn't believe in anything that he says because even after the fact that he stopped becoming a neo Nazi, even after the fact that he left neo Nazi gangs in Orange County, Sean Strickland still espouses racist views. Think about it, right? Like, how do you call yourself a reformed former neo Nazi when you still espouse racist views in some kind of way? Now, look, granted, I've known people and I've seen people on TV and in person who were former Nazis that actually became reformed from, these ideals, and they will really go out of their way to refrain from being racist to any degree, right? Not Sean Strickland. Why? Because Sean Strickland doesn't believe in anything. Okay, I'm no longer a neo Nazi. Okay, but I still espouse racist views. Okay, well, what difference did you really make in your life other than the improvement of your circumstances as a world champion and having a better standard of living? That is what you have with Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland doesn't believe in anything. Sean Strickland doesn't stand for anything. And quite frankly, Sean Strickland just says things for shock value. That is what Sean Strickland is in a nutshell. Aaron Maga says JDM by KO. Okay. Arion says Sean Strickland just can't stand on his belief. That's exactly the point that I'm trying to make. And I need you guys to understand this pattern of behavior that you're seeing out of Sean Strickland in his whole entire life, right? He says that he's no longer with this group. He's no longer a Nazi, yet he goes and espouses racist views. Okay, what kind of man is that? What kind of principle is that? Look, in all honesty, none of these fighters really have any principles, none whatsoever, right? They don't stand on anything. The majority of them don't even know what they're talking about. Okay, Arion says he's just an emotional boy. Exactly. That's exactly what it is, right? Because let's be honest about this, right? It's not like Sean Strickland had a good father figure in his life. And he's mentioned this multiple times. He's explained this to us multiple times. We know what it is. He's not a person that grew up with a righteous father, a father that guided him to the right direction. And oftentimes, when men don't have father figures in their life, guess what happens? You become very emotional. So all these things that he talks about with hood black people, or oh, you guys don't have a father figure, or this and that, they're yada yada, or he doesn't stand for anything, man. He's like this dude that talks about, oh, I'm a trad dude. I believe that women should be in kitchens or this, that, or the other. Like, all right, like there's some I don't think he believes in any of that either. Okay? Because here's the thing, right? Does Sean Strickland have any kids? Right? Why doesn't he have any kids? Do you ever wonder why? You ever wonder why he doesn't have any kids? Right? I mean, maybe he's working on it or this and that. He does have a steady relationship with somebody, right? So maybe that is something that he'll plan in the future, or maybe he just doesn't want to do that right now because he's in the middle of his fight career. Granted, but make no mistake, guys, Sean Strickland doesn't stand for anything, and everything that he does should not be taken as serious as what you would take from, let's say, a real ideologue, because that is nothing that he is. He is not an ideologue. He doesn't stand for anything. He doesn't stand for anyone. And quite frankly, Sean Strickland is a fake. I'm sorry to tell you that, right? He's a fake. And a lot of you who love him, you only love what he says and not necessarily what he does. So you got to understand that. You love what he says because he says all the right things. Remember, a broken clock is correct how many times in a day? That's Sean Strickland. He's a broken clock. Okay? Two times out of the days, he will say something that is factually correct. But understand that in most of the time during the days, he's just a broken, emotional boy. And you know what? It's going to show up in this fight. It's going to show that Sean Strickland is a quitter. That is my official prediction on this one right here, right? Khamzat Chimaev is going to have such a dominant performance that you're going to think so negatively of Sean Strickland. You're going to think Sean Strickland quit. You're going to think that Sean Strickland didn't give the best account of himself. And you're also going to think, man, you know what? Sean Strickland is he's a fraud, man. He's a fraud. That's really what it comes down to. Sean Strickland is a fraud. Okay? And anybody who thinks different is just nothing more than a fanboy. Cole Old says Sean Strickland might be a good fighter, but an annoying human being. And you know what? That's a fair assessment to make, right? Because Sean Strickland has made an assessment about Khamzat Chimaev. He says, he's a great fighter, but he's a whore. Okay, we'll get to Khamzat Chimaev in a second, right? He says, Cole Old says he disrespects Islam frequently. Here's the thing, right? Um, Sean Strickland is an infidel. He is a non-believer. I don't expect anything of him. Nothing that he says surprises me anymore. Look, I think what a lot of young Muslims, when they see somebody like Sean Strickland, Tommy Robinson, Valentina Gomez, all these anti-Islamic figures, right? They get triggered very easily. They get triggered very easily because they don't understand that these people are broken people. They don't understand these people have their own demons, have their own problems. Okay, take a look at Tommy Robinson, for example, right? The number one anti Muslim, I don't know how you could, really label him as activist, right? Tommy Robinson of England is one of the most biggest anti-Muslim uh, public figure. Let's just call him a public figure, right? And being the public figure in the face of anti-Islam, what did it get him? It got him multiple his a divorce. It got him and his kids put in danger. Okay, he had to get out of England a couple of times only to come back in a capacity where he can't even go outside. And on top of that, he doesn't even have his house in check. Tommy Robinson has sons who listen to UK drill rappers that wish death upon their own father. I want you to think about that. Okay, he doesn't have his house in order. How is it that you have sons who listen to rappers that want to see you get killed? I don't understand that. How is that possible? Well, it's because Tommy Robinson does not have his house in order. Okay, all these people that talk about Islam or this and that, they don't have their house in order. I guarantee you, you look into their life, there's nothing but a heap of mess behind them. Sean Strickland is one of them. Okay, Sean Strickland is a great fighter. Aaron Maga says Strickland can't be broken. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. There just hasn't been the right fighter to do that yet. Maybe Khamzat is the guy to do that, and stylistically, there's a lot of plausible realities to that. You saw it in the Drickus fight. Him and Drickus were a very even fight, but the lead up to the fight, Drickus made him cry. Now, Drickus has this uh, magical powers that people claim he has to somehow get people out of their game or get people thinking outside of their box, or maybe it's just a coincidental sequence of events that happen to make it seem that way, right? In other words, it just so happens that Sean Strickland is a volatile person, and all he needed to do, Dricus du Plessis was mentioned this one volatile thing about his life, and it was going to make um, Sean Strickland cry. Aaron Maga says Islam fights once a year. Arion says he disrespects Islam but doesn't do it in front of Khamzat. LOL. Yeah, yeah. Well, he doesn't do it in front of a lot of Muslim guys that he trains with. And you know what? To be fair, there's multitudes of reasons why that is. Okay, number one, the reason number one why that is because when you're in the gym, there's a certain unspoken respect that we have for everybody, right? There's all types of people that you're going to run across in the gym that you don't like. Okay, for example, let's say you're a police officer, right? And you want to train at an MMA gym or a boxing gym. Guess what? You're going to have to train amongst either current criminals or former criminals. Now, if you're on the other side of that, you're a criminal or you're a gang member and you train at a local gym, guess what? You're going to be in there with some ops. You're going to be in there with guys that live across the street, guys that come from different neighborhoods, or the police themselves. And guess what? Everybody in a combat sports gym are all cordial with each other. They're all friendly with each other. They get along. They are there for a common mission, which is to get better at martial arts, to lose weight, or to maintain shape, or to get better at their technical skills and what they're working on. So everybody has that one singular focused mind goal to which they are trying to get better, right? So it's a universal thing, right? Everybody is sort of in agreement that, hey, you know what? We're going to be here. We're going to train hard together and set our differences aside. I think there's that, right? Now, obviously, the other aspect of it is Sean Strickland knows that it will cause a commotion that he doesn't need in his life. That's also another thing to try and understand. Aaron Maga, to answer your question, or rather, respond to what you're saying about Islam only fights once a year. Unfortunately, when you get up to a certain level in the fight world, unfortunately, this is what you have to contend with, right? You have to contend with the reality that um, you have to contend with the reality that you're not going to be able to fight as much as you wish you can. That's just the way that it is, unfortunately. So, all right. Um, let's go back in time. Okay, April So let's talk about April 29th, 1992, right? On April 29th, 1992, a jury acquitted LAPD officers in the beating of Rodney King, sparking the 1992 Los Angeles riots. Okay. The uprising began hours after the verdict, leading to 6 days of looting, fires, resulting in over 60 deaths, thousands of injuries, and approximately, get this, $1 billion worth of damages. So the trial moved to Simi Valley, okay, resulted in acquittal of all four officers on assault charges towards Rodney King, okay, and three on excessive force charges as well included. So the riot that followed, following the verdict, protests outside Parker Center turned violent, spreading through South Central Los Angeles. The impact of April 29th, 1992. Okay. The incident triggered a national conversation of police brutality and racial injustice. Now, there is a band in Long Beach, California named Sublime, right? The band Sublime released a song April 29th, 1992 about the riots. While the song is titled after the date, vocalist Bradley Noel mistakenly signs April 26, 1992 in the lyrics, but the band kept the take according to the discussion on our Reddit. So, all right. So, a little fun historical fact right there on that particular topic, right? The lead singer of um, the lead singer of Sublime mentioned April 26th when he really meant to say April 29th, but they kept it anyway, right? Okay, so the content to the song samples a police scanner and audio, describes widespread looting across several US cities, framing the unrest as a response to systematic injustice. Okay. Um, I'm going to read to you the lyrics of April 29th, 1992, the song by Sublime, right? Just so you can kind of get an understanding to this, right? Okay, so April 29th was the day the riots for. Okay, so, all right. So in the police scanners, uh, Dr. Sniping says, hello, hello, how are you, my man? Let me know what part of the world you are from. Okay. So in the police scanner of the song, it says, I don't know if you can if you can, but if you can get an owner of On's, that's On's Junior Market. The address is 1934 East Anaheim. All windows are busted out, and it's like a free for all in here. And the owner should at least come down here and see if he can secure his business if he wants to. Okay, so that's how the song starts. The verse one starts April 26, 1992. There was a riot on the streets. Tell me, where were you? You were sitting at home watching on your TV while I was participating in some anarchy. First spot we hit was a liquor store. I finally got all the alcohol that I couldn't afford. I mean, yeah, that's probably everybody during that time, right? Pennsylvania, USA, man. Shout out to you and everybody in Penn State. I got a homeboy from the Marines that went to Penn State. Obviously, that is the home of Bo Nickel, as you know. But all right, so he says, with the red lights flashing, time to retire. And then we turned the liquor store into a structure fire. Next stop we hit was a music shop. It only took one brick to make that window drop. Finally, we got our own PA. Where do you think I got this guitar that you're hearing today? Dun 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 dun. There it is, man. Dr. Sniping says, yeah, I'm a student there too. Okay, man. Shout out to you, my man. Let me know what your major is and what year are you into your Penn State right now. Obviously, I'm also a college graduate as well. I graduated from Sacramento State, California University. Um, so yeah, let me know what you had studied and what year you are in. And by the way, good luck to you because I know how difficult college can be, especially in the seasons of testings and finals and things of that nature. Okay, so yeah, where do you think I got this guitar that you're hearing today as we move on to the lyrics, right? Police officer. So now there's a police scanner. It goes, call fire, tell them to respond at the mobile station, Alamitos and Anaheim. It's flaming up good, 10-4, Alamitos and Anaheim. So the break, homicide, never doing no time. Verse 2, when returned to the pad to unload everything, it dawned on me that I needed new home furnishing. So once again, we filled up the van until it was full. Since that day, my living room's been so much more comfortable because everybody in the hood had it up to here. It's getting harder and harder each and every year. Some kids went in and stole with their mother. I saw her and she came out. She was getting some Pampers. Okay, they said it was for the black man. They said it was for the Mexican and not for the white man. But if you look at the streets, it wasn't about Rodney King. And it's this effed up situation and these effed up police. It's about coming and staying on top, screaming 187 on a fucking cop. It's not in the paper. It's not on the wall. National Guard smoke all around. So there it is, right? The National Guard got called in, as you remember, right? Very similar to Trump and what he's doing right now. So yeah, man, a lot of the things that went on during that time, is still going on today. Dr. Snipin says, freshman in finance field. Okay, so you must be a very young man, man. Shout out to you, man. All the best and the luck to you on that. Okay, so now as the lyrics continue, police officer units be advised there's an attempt at 211 arrests now at 938 Temple, 938 Temple, 30 subjects with bats trying to get inside the CB's house. He thinks they're going to try to start unaliving him. So the break, as long as I'm alive, I'm live illegal. Okay, verse 3, it says, let it burn, want to let it burn, want to let it burn. I'm feeling sad, and the riots on the streets of Miami. Whoa, riots on the streets of Chicago, on the streets of Long Beach and San Francisco, Boise, Idaho, riots on the streets of Kansas City, Salt Lake, Huntington Beach, California, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Tuscaloosa, Alabama, baby. Arcade, Clarkson, Michigan, Cleveland, Ohio. Shout out to Cleveland, Ohio. Shout out to Marty Miller, right? Fountain Valley, Texas bar. So he's basically naming all these places that are having riots, right? Mentions Victorville, Texas Barstow, Eugene, Oregon, Eureka, California. And then the song goes, let it burn, let it burn. Hesperia won't let you burn. Won't you let you burn Santa Barbara? Shout out to Santa Barbara for Dubs out in Santa Barbara, man. Shout out to you. Winnemucca, Nevada. Yeah, I never even heard of that town, but obviously it's a town in Nevada. Phoenix, Arizona. San Diego, Lakeland, Florida. Won't you let it burn? FN 29 Palms, Won't You Let It Burn? And that is the whole entire song. And at the end, it has a police scanner that goes, any units assist, try Frank 54 Willow at Canton Avenue, structure fire and numerous subjects looting 1015 to get rid of this looter 10-4. So that is the name of the song. Manny Marion, Prates is going to KO JDM. Oh, okay, so that's your prediction on that one right there. So yeah, guys, what has changed since April 29th, 1992, right? Not much. There's still riots going on. Doesn't have to be LA, but it can be Minnesota. It can be New York. It can be Chicago, just as we've seen. And then he mentions all the cities in here that were part of this riot. So yeah, man, very interesting stuff, man. Very interesting stuff. So yeah, not much has changed since April 29th, 1992, I assume. So all right, that's that for April 29th, 1992 anniversary that we got going on today. So all right, next, Jake Paul. Jake Paul and the complex interview that he had going on. Okay, let's check this out right here. All right, 21 minutes of this.
Bro's already a billionaire. He's just going and gambling.
Have you been in any talks on the side?
That's illegal. So we definitely haven't been talking to them.
What's up, everybody? I'm Matt Welty, here with Jake Paul, co-founder of MVP. How you feeling?
I'm good, man. Just loving the New York energy.
Yeah.
And having a good morning. Excited to be here. It's going to be great. MVPW2, ESPN. So it's a big deal, and happy to be helping change the sport.
What's it like with the announcement of this whole MVP, the May 16th card with Gina and Ronda? You're like disrupting the mixed martial arts game a little bit.
Yeah, it's needed. It's very, very needed in the sport. I think it's been a monopoly for so long, run by the UFC, and the fighters haven't had another place to go where they get the exposure and more pay. And so MVP MMA is providing that with.
So you see, a lot of the things that Jake Paul is saying here makes a lot of sense, right? These are the common arguments that many people have in the MMA world, right? They're not getting paid enough, sometimes maybe even the activity level. But here's the thing, right? What can Jake Paul offer these MMA fighters in terms of activity level? Are they going to plan on, let's say, making multiple shows a year? Because here's the thing about MVP MMA, right? It's one thing to start an MMA event, once every blue moon and make it really big. You got all the big stars, but what about the next event? What about the next Saturday? What about the next pay per view? How are you going to keep up that momentum? You see, the UFC has a roster that has approximately, I would say, about maybe 500 people. Let's be very accurate about this, right? Number of UFC roster. So what is the number of UFC rosters? Let's take a look at the um, the official numbers. So as of April 2026, which is right now, I mean not April 20, yeah, April 2026. The UFC roster contains more than 578 contracted fighters. Okay, recent analysis indicates approximately 674 active fighters on the roster. Okay, so 578 contracted fighters, but 600 of them are active fighters. 678. So let's take a look at the divisions, okay, and how many people there are in the division, okay. Lightweight, they got the most people at lightweight, right? 102 fighters at lightweight. At welterweight, they got 89 people and welterweight. Featherweight, they have 85 people. Bantamweight, there's 84 people. Middleweight, there's 68 people. Men's flyweight division, there's 50. Women's strawweight, 49. Women's flyweight, 45. Light heavyweight, 40. Not a lot. Heavyweight, there's only 30 guys in the heavyweight division, if you could imagine that, right? Out of 100 people in light heavyweight, I mean, say in lightweight division. Women's bantamweight, 32. Light heavyweight, 40. So that's a total of 674 guys. Okay. Now, the smallest division, the heavyweight division, is currently the smallest in the organization, with just at 30 active fighters. Okay. Ranked fighters, there's approximately 176 ranked fighters across all divisions, 15 per division plus the champion. The global reach, the roster includes fighters of 76 different countries. Okay, so activity levels. Only about 37% of ranked fighters are typically scheduled for a fight at any given time. Okay, so that is the landscape of the UFC's roster. All right, so just so you guys understand, right? In order for Jake Paul to compete for anybody, for any MMA organization out there to compete, this is what you're competing with: 102 lightweights, okay, 89 welterweights, and obviously you could rewind back and take a look at the numbers that I spewed here for their roster. But understand, MVP has the money to make one big show, but what about next week? Okay. For example, the UFC is fighting in Perth, Australia this weekend, the same weekend as Ramirez and Benavidez for the Cruiserweight World Championship, right? In boxing. So they got Perth, Australia. 1 week before they had the Apex. And then after Perth, Australia, they have UFC New Jersey with Khamzat and Strickland as the headliner. So that's very hard to compete with. Because here's the thing, as an Apex card is going on 1 week ago, they are building stars through that. The next future pay per view stars, the next future main card openers, the next future main event fighters. They're cultivating that. Whereas you have MVP, what exactly are they doing? All they're doing is doing the WCW model back in the early 90s WWE. What do I mean by that? Well, if you remember, WCW used to recruit a lot of the older fighters from the WWE, right? Hulk Hogan, he was a WWE guy, went to WCW. Randy Savage, he was a WWE guy, went to WCW. The Nasty Boys, they were WWE talent and went to WCW. The list goes on. Who else was active during that time? Well, obviously, Ric Flair was more of a WCW guy. He did make small appearances in the WWE in the early 90s, but was mostly known for being a WCW guy. Who else went over? Obviously, X Pac, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall, a more famous example of the outsiders when they had. So that is what MVP is. That is what Bellator has always been. That is what PFL has always been. They have been the company that took the older talent from the top organization or the NFL organization of MMA, and then they just recycled it. That's if you look at the Ronda Rousey card, let's be honest about this, right? You guys are saying that this is a better card. Better in what way? In mixed martial arts competition, in the competitive architecture, what ranking and what standing would Mike Perry and Nate Diaz have in the current 170 division of the UFC right now? With all the 89 guys that are there, what could they possibly do to any of these guys, right? Are they competitive in any kind of way? How about the main event? What can Ronda Rousey offer any of the top women that are in the division right now, let alone Gina Carano? Now, the only one that's a real legit fighter or current active fighter right now is Francis Ngannou, and he's not even that active. So we don't even know the extent of what he can do other than what he just did to Renan Ferreira in his last MMA fight after this boxing stint that he had going on. So understand that, yes, once in a while, MVP, Bellator, PFL, One, Ryzen, all these other organizations, they will have better cards in the UFC at some week. Let's take a look at the UFC's fight card on May 16th, the same day as May 16th of UFC, because they got a fight card going on that day as well, right? What is this? Oh, wow. Okay, so May 16th is actually Armed Forces Day. So, so that's interesting. Okay, May 16th, UFC. What is the main card? So it's going to be Allen versus Costa. Okay, so Arnold Allen. All right. All right. So yeah, they definitely beat their card that day, right? Obviously, Arnold Allen is a much more formidable featherweight, probably a more capable fighter than half of the roster that is in the MVP card of that day. But that is what they have. That is the day where the UFC loses to MVP, right? But after, let's take a look at the schedule for the UFC, right? So obviously last week, as I told you, right, the Apex card, you had Aljamain Sterling and Yusuf Zalal. They're building stars through that, right? So they can have future pay-per-views. And then the next night, May 2nd, which is coming up, Jack Della Maddalena and Carlos Prates. Okay, now that's a pretty big card for the region of Australia. And then you got UFC 328, Khamzat versus Sean Strickland. And then after that, that's May 16th. So apparently there's not going to be a UFC the following week after that. Okay. So there's no UFC that following week. But you got Arnold Allen and Costa. And then after that, May 30th, right? Where is MVP at May 30th? Because take a look at this, right? You got Song Yadong taking on Davison Figueroa, right? And then another fight night after that, Muhammad versus Bonfim. That's on June 6th. 1 week before UFC Freedom 250, which is on June 14th. So there it is, right? You can't compete with that. You can compete with them in one night, but you can't compete with them overall. All right, so I'm gonna play this interview with Jake Paul. I'm gonna react to it. Uh, Stand by for a second. I have to use the bathroom, so just excuse me for a second, okay?
Some of the biggest names and obviously the biggest streaming platform. And so it's really a monumental shift in the timeline for MMA fighters and for MMA fans because we want to provide the best and the biggest fights and go head to head with the big dogs. And it's just a very exciting time for everyone because of that.
One person on the UFC roster that she could coach it over to. She said,
yeah, I think that would be good. I think coach all of them, honestly. You can get the fighters what they deserve to be paid, similar to boxing. And, that's why a lot of the UFC guys want to box is because they can get $10, $15, $20 million for a fight versus, $1.5 million for being a champion.
Have you been in the
I tried to send a jet to Patty Pimblett actually to spar, and I was going to give him $1 million, and then it's just radio silence. And I'm guessing it'll be the same with Taporia. They have to publicly.
So $1 million, right? He offered him $1 million to show up, basically run a fade, right? A boxing fade, rather, right? In his I guess his facility, right? That was the main thing that Jake Paul wanted to do. He wanted to have, a little bit of a sparring session. And I don't know. I mean, that's up to Patty to, accept it or not. Apparently, he didn't accept it, but I don't know how true that is. Now, look, here's the thing, right? A lot of people are doubting the authenticity of that, right? Here's what I think, right? I think Jake Paul can absolutely afford to give somebody $1 million, right? But it would have been $1 million that was worth it for him because he can't fight Patty the Batty in a sanctioned fight, but they can fight each other sparring. So he could easily just pick up a win from that because he would knock out Patty the Batty. Let's be honest about this, right? Patty the Batty is more of a grappler, more of a jiu-jitsu guy, not exactly a crisp, technical striker in any kind of way. So I would believe that Jake Paul could not only ruin him in a boxing ring, but also Jake Paul would use it as a way to market himself further after the fact.
When they're on the live stream, say I'll do it right now. Let's do it. Da, da, da. And then when it goes to happen, it just doesn't come to fruition. And um, we will see. And I have respect for him, but in a boxing match, like that's like honestly a warm up for me. And like not even like all jokes aside, if we did MMA,
Yeah.
he would probably win.
Well,
So you just have to know the truth, and I think these fighters like try to boast too much and act like they're better than they are to the world. But let's find out the truth. That's what's great about the sport.
Okay, and he's right about that, right? I think when Jake Paul got into boxing, a lot of people were extremely apprehensive at the idea that he could beat um, uh, Ben Askren. Okay, but I saw the writings on the wall. Ben Askren never gave respect to learning how to strike. He never gave respect to that. He never tried to increase his striking prowess in any kind of way. He never tried to enhance his striking in any kind of capacity. He didn't try to do it at all, right? He just stuck with the idea, hey, you know what? I know how to wrestle. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use this wrestling to catapult me, and that's all that we're going to do, right? We're just going to wrestle. But then one day he gets a call to fight Jake Paul in boxing. Arrogantly enough, he believes, because I am the Olympian, I was one time an undefeated 17-0 MMA fighter, that somehow this translates into the boxing ring. And that's not the case, right? The same thing when he was going to box Anderson Silva. Now, of course, people are going to say, well, you know what? He was already old at that time. Okay. But look at Anderson Silva beating Julio Cesar Chavez. And then obviously Jake Paul ends up fighting Julio Cesar Chavez as well and ends up beating him as well. So,
But I think you said you wouldn't even have to put headgear on to spar with him.
Yeah, no, it would be like playing with a little toy, Like I'm not even kidding. And also, he's like 5'5". It's like if we were the same weight, he's a good striker. Mm-hmm. Same height, it would probably be closer. I would still beat him, but he's like he can't even ride roller coasters. Like the guy is tiny.
Someone who is closer to your size, though, that has expressed that he would want to fight you or beat you up, Sean Strickland. Do you feel like that would be, something that you'd be either interested in, or you think that would be closer to a fair boxing match or just a fight? Or
it would definitely be. Sean would definitely be a harder boxing match than Taporia, but again, still would be easy. Completely open to it. Here's the problem. It's like we're almost wasting our breath talking about these things because it's like, it's like a director of a movie talking about that he's going to make, and then he never makes it, and the fans don't ever get to watch the movie.
okay, a couple of things with that, right? I agree with him. I don't like wearing headgear either. I think wearing headgear actually makes your head bigger and makes you an even bigger target. And then there's a certain peripheral vision that sort of is blocked right here, right? Like you can't, like when you have this covered, you don't really see, your peripheral vision this way or that way, right? There's a lot of things covering it. On top of that, yeah, man, it's just I don't know, man. I don't agree with having headgear whatsoever. And plus, you know what? When you get hit with it, I'll give you an example, right?
roster combined.
Oh, snap. Okay. Sorry. I think I had accidentally pressed mute on that. What did I say earlier? I said, okay, I was talking about Conor McGregor as I was being muted, right? I said that I think that's what Conor McGregor is trying to do. He's trying to run out his contract, right? And who knows if the UFC would allow him to fight in other organizations, or maybe they will. Maybe they just felt like, there's nothing that they could really do with him anymore, and that's all there is to it. So let me know if I have the volume back on again.
Where he fought his way out of his contract and now, went on to do multiple boxing matches for 20, 30, 40 million dollars. Now he's fighting for MVP MMA, making more than the whole UFC roster combined. So hopefully fighters can realize that
Thank you, John Dong.
they need to fight their way out of their UFC contract and then find more lucrative opportunities elsewhere with the same or more amount of viewership. Because I think the reason that they wanted to stay is like, okay, the pay is not good, but this is the best place to become famous. And it's like, nah, not anymore.
You don't think, though, that there's any sort of bit that, like you said, not just the best place to be?
Okay, I'm going to have to disagree with Jake Paul on that, right? The UFC is the best place to get famous, okay? Khamzat said to Ronda Rousey, you know what? If it wasn't for the UFC, you would absolutely be nothing, right? You would be nothing if it wasn't for the UFC. This is Khamzat saying this to Ronda Rousey. He's right. He's absolutely right about this. He's 100% right about this. You want to know why? Look, here's what it is, right? The UFC has a media machine. The UFC has a PR machine. You want to know why a lot of fighters don't get paid the way that they should? Because there's a lot of people behind the scenes that make the UFC machine run. People that are camera people, media people, public relations, lawyers. What else do they have going on? Security, right? Security at the PI center, security at the events, right? Having to pay for security to travel. This is a real oiled machine. So if you're wondering why the UFC has low fighter pay, it is because they have the amount of funds that could be used and allocated to build their organization, to make the organization a bigger name than the actual fighter itself. That is why they have low fighter pay. But make no mistake, you can't get famous in other leagues. Okay, maybe there is an exception to the few. Obviously, MVP was really famous before he got into the UFC. Fedor never fought in the UFC. Here's another thing about Fedor never fighting in the UFC, right? You're wrong about this. Fedor has fought in the UFC. You want to know why? Because the UFC bought Pride out. You want to know why Donald Cerrone had a high record of fights in the UFC? Because many of those fights were WEC fights. Okay? To kind of put that in perspective, a lot of his fights were WEC fights converted to a UFC fight. So the idea that Fedor never fought in the UFC, not so fast. He fought in Pride, which is a UFC organization to begin with. John Dong says, exactly. That's why it annoys me whenever people are like, yeah, the UFC should pay fighters more. They made over $7 billion from the Paramount deal. Correct. A lot of these people have never ran a business in their life, never had to look at a budget, never had to look at, X, Y, and Z, or understand how this money is allocated. But when people look at the UFC, they just see the fighters, the 674 fighters that I mentioned earlier when I brought up those stats. So 674 fighters, that's what they see. They see Dana White, they see Bruce Buffer, they see Joe Rogan, sometimes John Anik, sometimes Daniel Cormier, sometimes Dominic Cruz in the commentary booth. And then sometimes they see the UFC cameramen, which obviously without the cameramen, there is no fight for us to see to begin with, right? Okay, but then there's the media people. There's all these things that I had just mentioned, right? So these are things that a lot of people just don't understand in their heads. They just think, you know what, pay the fighters more, okay? But you need to have the show going. You need to have the machine going. You need to have multiple scouts. A lot of people don't know this, but UFC has recruiting scouts. Okay, they have to get paid, just like how every soccer team from Manchester City to Manchester United to MLS to the leagues down in Argentina, all the way to Brazil, all the way to Latin America and across the world in the Middle East. All these soccer teams, they have scouts. They have to get paid. Tux Shark says, hi, brother. How are you, man? Let me know what part of the world you are from, man. Shout out to you. So, yeah, man, all these people that talk about fighter pay or this and that, you don't understand what is going on. You're only speaking from a logical or maybe even an illogical point of view when it comes to your ideological beliefs and what you think fighters deserve. That's just what it really comes down to. Also, you got to understand, right? I think fighters have a very inflated ego when it comes to their worth. And sometimes it is because of the fact that they fight really good or they're very talented fighters that they believe they deserve a whole lot more. But here's the thing, when Terrence Crawford was signed to Top Rank, as great of a fighter as Terrence Crawford was, the truth was Top Rank could not sell with him. And Bob Arum, yes, it is his job to promote uh, Terrence Crawford. But what is a 90-year-old Jewish man, okay, who has absolutely blind spots to the Black American community can do with Terrence Crawford? Man, let me tell you, if I was Terrence Crawford's promoter in the beginning stages of his career, I would know how to promote him. I would know what type of media outlets to put him in to put him out there. Jake Paul would know how to do that as well, right? But that's really what it is, man. Uh, he just was not marketable at his time. Devin Haney, the same thing. Um, Jai Apataya, the same thing. Eddie Hearn complained about the fact that he wasn't able to make money off of these guys, right? Some fighters are not as lucrative as they think they are. John Dong says, I was on another stream where I said the White House card is good, and then the streamer started yelling at me. Yeah, man, you know what? You have every right to say that the White House fight card is good. The only problem is that they hyped it up to this Super Bowl World Cup level that now we're expecting much more than Justin Gaethje and Ilya Topuria. Now we're expecting more than just Cyril Gane versus Alex Pereira. John Dong says he was like, the UFC should pay millions to get the biggest names on the card. Yeah, you don't understand budget, whoever that streamer was, right? You don't understand budget. And he says, John Dong says, he was like, I'm an American and I love this country. Well, what does that have to do with anything? What does being an American and being patriotic have to do with paying these fighters more to get, a White House fight card? You got to understand, man, they are losing money on the White House fight card. That is why they can't put Conor McGregor in there. That is probably the reason why they can't put John Jones in there, other than obviously past legal troubles that he's had going on. So you can't really do anything with the White House card in terms of, look, what a lot of people don't understand about the UFC's business practice, I'm going to sum it up with this: long term versus short term. What Jake Paul is doing with MVP, it is great. They beat the UFC for one night, May 16th, right? They're going to beat Allen versus Costa, right? The Arnold Allen headline card versus Costa. They're going to beat that by a mile. But after that, the UFC wins, because after that, the UFC has UFC Freedom. After that, the UFC has International Fight Week, which more than likely will have Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. By the way, they're going to announce that soon. I did make a video about it last night. I urge you guys to go check that out. Max Holloway versus Conor McGregor video. Right, that video is going to age well if that fight actually comes to fruition, which I think it will. So they got all of these going on, and then in August of Philadelphia, they're going to have Islam Makhachev versus Ian Gary in Philadelphia. So there it is, man. That's the machine. Okay. So that's long term thinking of UFC and Zuffa. And I'm not saying this to be a UFC shill or a UFC colonialist or anything like that. I'm just being real. Yes, we do love the UFC. Yes, the UFC is what we cover the most, right? When you're an MMA content creator, even if you're, let's say, City Light Projects, right? Where he literally covers every single MMA event. He literally covers every single Muay Thai event that is going on in the world. He literally covers everything. There's not a fight that City Light Project doesn't cover or live stream, right? But more than so, it's probably UFC centric, okay? Because they have long term goals and long-term strategies that puts them in a position where they're at in comparison to MVP, where they do a short-term stint. So
become famous, but like that's viewed as like the most prestigious mixed martial art organization to fight within, as far as like competition goes, that even if you're not making as much money, just to prove yourself as a fighter instead of taking those big money fights, that you just do want to fight the best competition.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And I think that's the most respected, prestigious belt. And a lot of people think that I hate the UFC, blah, blah. I love what they did to the sport. I'm an MMA fan. I grew up watching the UFC and Ronda Rousey, the early days, like, and so I love what they've done, and I agree, like, it's the most prestigious, but I think the whole landscape is going to start to change. And that's kind of just what I'm pointing out, is that if multiple people do it, there's going to be this ecosystem that is created where there can be prestigious fights elsewhere.
You think Dana's getting nervous at all with what you're building with MVP?
I don't think so, man. I think he's checked out. Like, bro's already a billionaire. He's just going and gambling.
That's a very good point. Here's the thing, right? Let's say if Jake Paul was successful to becoming the number 2 competitor, right, in this monopoly of the MMA game, right? Maybe we will see a much more less nonchalant version of Dana White, because now it's going to light a fire under his ass. Now it's going to be like, well, you know what? We need to do something a little bit different. Now he's going to get his hands dirty. He's going to go talk to the executives of Paramount, because let's be honest, right? A lot of these matchups that they're making right now, they are all predicated and also influenced by the executives of Paramount. So he's going to, have to pull himself up his bootstraps and get to work. Right now, he's not doing that. He's the billionaire. He's got everything going on. Uh, they are the number one by a long mile. By a long mile, right? Imagine you're in a race and you're overlapping people. That's where Dana White is in a nutshell right now.
Happy with his life. And I also think that everyone in my whole career like underestimates me, and then I like surpass expectations, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, well, he's there now. So like, he probably doesn't think that me and Nikisa are gonna take over MMA in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, like, I don't think he's nervous because of that.
What was the biggest moment for you in your career where you said proving people wrong as far as the boxing or the fighting goes, that you were like, this was the one that legitimized
me? Man, I would say probably like knocking out Tyron Woodley and winning knockout of the year in 2021 is when people were like, okay, this is pretty wild. And I think that's when the narrative started to change.
Not to harp on it too much, but I had interviewed Dana a few months ago, and I'd asked him about your fight with Anthony Joshua and what he thought about it, and he said that everyone involved in the promotion of that fight should be ashamed of themselves.
Did he provide any other details, or he's just shit talking? Like what was his reason?
I think it was just because of like the size differential between the two of you that shouldn't have been a fight. But
so the UFC started with no weight classes.
Yeah.
So should he fire himself? Like, gotcha, bitch. Like, what do we want to talk about here? Yeah. Like, I can do this for days. I live in truth and honesty, and like, Other people don't. So he's saying one thing, but then doing a different thing. And
So that's the thing with Jake Paul, right? He says that he's living in truth, and well, I don't think it's that simple. Okay, let me explain what I mean by that, right? So he's saying that, the truth is we can offer something different than the UFC. The truth is you can't. You can't really offer anything different. What you can offer is short-term returns, not long-term returns. Because remember what I told you. Look at the events that the UFC has going on and what goes into that, right? Whereas your company, here's the thing, right? This is the best way to kind of, really simplify it. If you want to be about fighter pay, be sure to understand that your budget for the production and the production for the future events are going to dwindle down. If you want to put the organization above all else, which is what the UFC is doing, you better believe that you're not working under short term investments or short term returns. You're working on long term investments and long term returns. And that is the difference between what Jake Paul is espousing with his MVP brand and what he's trying to do with it, as opposed to what the UFC has been doing for a couple of decades now.
I find it funny.
Do you think that you're
and mind you, this is the guy who was like trying to pay millions of dollars. He was paying Ben Askren in training camp, getting him coaches, and then tried to place $1 million bet that Ben Askren would beat me. And then he no-showed after I knocked him out in the first round. So Dana, where's my money? You still owe me $1 million.
Yeah. Do you think that this fight card, the May 16th fight card, has generated more buzz than UFC White House?
Now, that's a good question, right? Notice how Jake Paul sort of paused in on that a little bit, right? Look, if I really believe that the Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano card was better than the UFC, I would flat out say it, whether I was the promoter of that or not. Notice how Jake Paul is sort of pausing here because Jake Paul does live in reality. He does tell the truth. Let's not mince words about it, right? Jake Paul is very honest, whether it's detrimental against him or not. But notice how he's sort of hesitating here. Is it better? Let me think about that. The answer is no, it's not any better. What you have, and look, the reason why it's not any better is, let's just be honest, right? Ronda Rousey, that's not a competitive fight. Okay, it's a glamour fight because you have two legends going at it. Francis Ngannou, that's a squash match. Okay, you know what a squash match is? Remember back in the days when you had Saturday morning WWE wrestling, where you would have the Undertaker fight a bunch of jobbers, a bunch of nobodies. That's literally what this fight is. That's literally what Felipe Lenz is to Francis Ngannou. Let's just be honest about it. And when the fight comes, everything that I'm saying will be vindicated along with anybody who thinks very similar to the notion that Francis Ngannou is fighting a much easier fight than what he would have fought in the UFC or elsewhere. And that is the reason why the UFC did not want to go through with the Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano fight, because they're like, well, Gina Carano doesn't qualify to be a UFC women's fighter, even though she was a former champion elsewhere. She hasn't fought in a long time. So, what is the justification of bringing her to the best organization in the world? At least with Rousey, she was a former champion who got beat by two former world champions on her way out. So it's not a competitive fight. The Mike Perry and the Nate Diaz fight. Now, this is where it gets really complicated. And not only does it get complicated, this is where it gets really, how do I say this? Uh, uh, Complicated in terms of nuances, right? So I said that Francis Ngannou is not a competitive fight with Felipe Lenz. I said that Ronda Rousey is not a competitive fight against Gina Carano. But Mike Perry and Nate Diaz are actually a competitive fight. It is one of the most competitive fights in the whole entire card, and also they are also right up there with the star level of Francis Ngannou and the star level of Ronda Rousey. That's the only reason why these people are saying that this card is better. They're saying that the White House card is not good because it doesn't have the type of stars that they have. But if you're a hardcore fan, you want to know if Ilya Tapora can knock out Justin Gaethje the way that he did with other people. You want to know if Alex Pereira has the opportunity or the chance to fight a legitimate heavyweight who can move his ass off the way that Cyril Gahn can. You're curious of that. So these are very curious fights. You're also curious to see if Ayman Zahabi can beat Sean O'Malley. That's also in the card, by the way. Who else is in the White House card? Let's take a look at who else is in the White House card. White House. Roofy.
Your beloved pet is.
Okay. All right, let's take a look at the Wikipedia here. So, all right. Diego Lopez, Steve Garcia, that's a pretty good fight. Um, you know what? Steve Garcia, he's a personal friend of Charlie Kirk, right? Charlie Kirk was supposed to attend, I believe it was supposed to be his last fight. Let me see when was the last time he had fought. So was that the David Onama fight? Yeah, it was a David Onama fight. He was supposed to be there, right? That first round knockout that he got. Yeah, he was supposed to be there. And yeah, Charlie Kirk was supposed to attend that fight, and he never did. Obviously, it was November 2025, and he got blasted in September. So yeah, man, that's a pretty good fight. Good opportunity for him taking on Diego Lopez. But make no mistake, he's in that card because he's friends with Charlie Kirk. Bo Nickel, obviously. Trump loves glazing Bo Nickel because Bo Nickel just looks like the prototype, American boy, right? Trump loves those types of guys, right? So he's just somebody that Trump falls in love with. Kyle Dawkins, obviously. By the way, shout outs to John Dong. You're in here, right? You're the one that predicted this fight. You're the one that predicted this fight. Not necessarily on the White House, but you knew that this fight was going to happen. And that's crazy, man. But yeah, Michael Chandler is up in it, right, against Mauricio Rufy. And then recently added Josh Hockett versus Derek Lewis. There you go, man. Shout out to Josh Hockett because if it wasn't for that Curtis Blades fight and the antics that led up to it, he would have never been able to have been put in this card. And that's just how it goes. And then Sean O'Malley and Ayman Zahabi. So yeah, man, all these fights are competitive. Okay, what you got with the MVP card, they're not competitive at all, man. They're not competitive. The only fight that's competitive in there is maybe a few other, undercard fights, and then Nate Diaz and Mike Perry. There's no guarantee that even though Mike Perry has not been in MMA for a long time, he has been active. But you know what? Nate Diaz hasn't been in MMA for a long time or hasn't been in uh, a combat sports setting, period. Yeah, but shout out to you, John Dong. You predicted the Kyle Dawkins and the Bo Nickel fight, and we got all of that on record too. So, nobody can deny you of that, man. He says, "Yeah, I'm excited for the White House card. Sucks how we still have to wait for over a month." Mark Volgman in MMA says, "Haven't showered in 16 days. Smell like talking about yourself." I know. Are you talking about yourself? That you haven't, showered in 16 days, man. Then you need to have better hygiene there, my man. Hold on, let me make sure that the and in terms of let me make sure that okay, so the volume is on. Sorry, had to make sure the volume is on. My headphones ran out of batteries. So all right, okay, so going back to the Jake Paul thing, right? Let's go back to the interview. Is the White House card a better card than the Netflix Ronda Rousey card? He says, I'm on a mountaineering trip, just got back from. Okay, man. Shout out to you. Okay, so that explains some context behind that, Mark. Thank you for telling me that. Yeah, very adventurous of you. Always good to have those outdoor challenges, right? You know what I mean? I don't know how old you are. Obviously, I'm 41 years old, but in my younger days and even till now, I've gotten into a lot of outdoor adventures, and it's what you got to do as a young lad. You got to go out there and explore the beautiful wonders of the universe, my boy. You know what I mean? That's what you got to do, man. Explore. You know what I mean? It's good for the young lads to go out there and explore your inner manliness. You're doing a little John Fury voice right there, / Victorian Englishman voice. But yeah. So, question. Is the White House card better than the May 16th MVP card? Let's hear what Jake Paul had to say about that.
The May 16th fight card has generated more buzz than UFC White House.
I would just ask ChatGPT, honestly, about that. Probably pretty similar. I mean, just the fact that everyone's comparing it, right? It's like LeBron and Jordan, right? Like, So I think it's.
I don't think that's a highly accurate assessment, right? Jordan versus LeBron. I think a better assessment of that is Jordan and Kobe, because Jordan and Kobe actually coexisted in the same time frame, right? So you can actually compare the two of them. They've actually competed against each other, right? So Jordan and LeBron, not a good example because we're talking about two different eras. So for you to say Jordan and LeBron, that's like saying, well, is your card better than UFC 300? Or better yet, 10 years apart, is your card better than UFC 200? And how do you compare something like that? Abdul Sop says, remember me. Please give me a bit of some context, Abdul Sop. I run across so many people in this live chat, on a daily to yearly basis. You got to give me some context so that I can remember you and also give you the proper respect of who you are and what you have contributed to the chat, okay? So, yeah, please elaborate a little bit more so that I can give you your full and undivided respect.
At the same level, but I know that it will get more views, and I think that's just because it's Netflix and, free with the subscription. But I do think it is a better card and more entertaining. And so I think that's why people are.
Okay, well, here's the rebuttal to that, Jake. It's a more entertaining card, but it doesn't make it a better card, okay? Now, when I mean entertaining, I don't mean like, before the fact, okay? Because after the fact, hey, UFC White House could get really entertaining. Imagine if Justin Gaethje knocks out Ilia Topuria. Oh, my madness, right? The madness that is going to befall on that. Hey, and if he does beat him, guess what, man? Hey, he'll just throw them in there against Islam if Islam keeps winning, right? And then that will obviously kill the Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria fight. But if it does, guess what, man? Ilia Topuria never deserved to fight. He never deserved to fight Islam Makhachev in the first place. So there you have it. All right. So yeah, entertaining, yes. But is it a better card in terms of competitive architecture? In terms of, once again, let's talk long-term versus short-term, okay? If Francis Ngannou was to beat Philippe Lens, does that mean title implications for him? What about Nate Diaz and Mike Perry? Are they going to have an MVP 170 tournament or competitive architecture where the winner gets rewarded into a title shot or some kind of title, right? Implications, consequential sequences that come with that. There's none of that with the MVP card. So, yes, I agree. It is much more entertaining, but from a hardcore fan's perspective, maybe not.
Comparing it, and yeah, we'll see what happens, I guess.
You've talked about wanting to fight Usyk in MMA. Is there like a date for that, or is there anything you want to set up?
No date currently, but it's definitely in both of our cards. He really wants to do it. His team really wants to do it. I really want to do it. My team wants to do it. So we'll see what happens in the next 24 months. But I think it would be highly entertaining.
What do you think a fight like that looks like for you, like MMA?
He would probably murder me pretty early. I think he would just pick me up and I don't even know. That guy's built different. I think he's the
okay. Jake Paul just literally admitted that Usyk would beat his ass in MMA. Okay, he just admitted he would beat his ass in MMA. You know what, man? I seen Usyk in the movie with The Rock. Okay, where he played an MMA fighter, right? A former opponent of Mark Kerr, which obviously The Rock depicted. And you know what, man? I gotta say, man, Usyk looks like he belongs in. I mean, obviously it was MMA in a boxing ring because they were depicting Pride back in the days, right? Pride FC. But Usyk looks like he could. I mean, he looks very comfortable in an MMA setting. I will say that he looks very comfortable in an MMA setting. Plus, he's Eastern European. He's Ukrainian, so you know they have some wrestling in their back pocket, right? A lot of Eastern European boxers tend to have a wrestling background before they had a boxing background, very similar to Terrence Crawford, right? Some names come to mind. Lomachenko, Kovalev, Sergey Kovalev. I believe Kubrat Pulev as well, right? I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But Alexander Usyk definitely has a wrestling background as well. Arthur Beterbiev, obviously he's Chechnyan, for crying out loud, right? A Chechnyan boxer. Yeah, for sure he has a wrestling background. So yeah, man. I think if there's any boxer that could really transition well into MMA right now, especially in a heavyweight division, it's Usyk. Plus, let's be honest, right? Usyk could probably beat some top UFC heavyweights right now, and that's probably not saying much. He's got the footwork. He's got great clinching that he could probably use. We're going to have to see how improved his kicks are, right? Because he doesn't kick much. But you know what? The thing is, I noticed with a lot of these boxers, right? A lot of their sons have gotten into other martial arts. Like, for example, Chris Eubank Jr., right? Obviously, son of a famous boxer, Chris Eubank Sr. He's trained in judo before. He's done judo classes. Okay, and obviously judo is a rich man's sport, right? So go figure how Chris Eubank Sr. was able to afford to bring him into that world, right? Tyson Fury's kids, right? Some of his kids, I think, are training mixed martial arts right now. I believe his son Prince. I think his son Prince at the time was training jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, and then he decided, all right, you know what? Maybe I just want to just do boxing now, right? So the Furies, yeah, they have some MMA people in their family, obviously, was Tyson Fury's sons. Terrence Crawford, right? All his sons right now are top level wrestlers, right? So, it's good because before, boxers obviously had this 1990s mentality where, oh, boxing is the best combat sports, and it is, but you also need other styles to, sort of help you cultivate becoming a more well-rounded fighter. Stone, shout out to Stone, man. Glad that you're here. I'm glad that you liked my story that I had mentioned the other day about snitching, right? So shout out to you for that, right? Remember the story that I mentioned earlier about snitching in the last stream? Yeah, you thought that was very interesting. So thank you for that. He says, thanks for giving details and updates. You're doing a good job. Man, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. That is what I do this for. I do this for the love of the game. And, hopefully, I do get more recognition for it because you know what, like, not to be cocky or anything like that, but I think I do deserve it. I think that if I was, let's say, a bystander or a viewer that was not myself and I saw myself outside of my body doing this, I'd be like, you know what? This guy's pretty good. He knows what he's talking about, very articulate, knows a lot of knowledge, is able to code switch and bring in different information from different parts of whatever knowledge he has of combat sports. So that is ultimately what I do this for. And if you like it, then shout out to you. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, and let's get this thing cracking. And thank you for your support. So much appreciated. I mean, I'm very humbled by it to every extent. So
the GOAT of this boxing generation. And yeah, fighting him in MMA, I think my only chance would be like trying to get a takedown and submitting him, because I'm not going to try to sit there and exchange with the guy or get kicked by him. But I'm down for the challenge. I think for me, those types of things are fun, and I'm down to fight anyone, anytime, any place.
You know how bad that fight is for him as well, considering the fact that Anthony Joshua now trains with Alexander Usyk, right? So guess what? If he has an MMA fight with Jake Paul, he's going to bring in Anthony Joshua as a sparring partner or as an advisor. Hey, what are some habits that Jake Paul does, right? On top of the fact that Alexander Usyk is already a beast of a man in and of itself, has good footwork. That footwork is going to translate well into MMA, right? He's going to look like Dominic Cruz in there, right? A heavyweight version of Dominic Cruz or a prime TJ Dillashaw. So, yeah, he would be a problem for a lot of people in the heavyweight division, let alone just Jake Paul alone. But yeah, Jake Paul does have a wrestling background. To what extent will that wrestling background help him with Usyk? Only time will tell if they actually really go through with this fight. Now, I always wondered, right, what type of MMA organization are they going to have this fight in, right? Because obviously, Jake Paul at one point was signed to the PFL, which really meant absolutely nothing. It was just all symbolic, right? Didn't really have a meaning or a reason behind why they signed him other than just, newsworthy bravado. But obviously, he got released after the PFL decided to let go of Francis Ngannou, let go of Jake Paul, and all these budget cuts that they had going on. Well, now Jake Paul has MVP MMA. So now we have a home for Alexander Usyk to actually fight Jake Paul in an MMA setting. And yeah, man, this is just the beginning of it, right? So in comes Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. How are you going to top that one? Well, let's have Jake Paul headline against Alexander Usyk in an MMA fight, for Usyk to have his MMA debut, and also for Jake Paul to have his pro MMA debut. So two debutantes in MMA headlining, okay, while they both have a boxing background at the same time. Very interesting stuff, to say the least.
Not likely to happen, but I thought it was funny that Trump said he wants to see you fight Khabib.
Yeah, I think that's a really good match. We need
boxing or MMA.
Can you believe that Trump actually asked Jake Paul to fight Khabib? Man, listen, Trump. Now I know why. Now I know why he's making all these miscalculations in the war in Iran. Okay, that is a bad idea. I mean, I don't know what it is like. Yes, Jake Paul and Donald Trump are friends. They obviously did an interview together, or Jake Paul interviewed Donald Trump recently, right? That was when he was doing his little campaign trail. I mean, not campaign trail, one of his speeches that he did in Kentucky, I believe, right? So, okay, all right, yeah. He does like Jake Paul, but guess what, man? Donald Trump's favorite fighter is Khabib. So maybe he wants to see that as out of pure entertainment. Maybe he believes Jake has enough size to somehow compete with Khabib in some kind of capacity. But that is a weird. Yeah, that's a weird one for me, man. That's a weird one that he would ask Jake Paul to fight Khabib. But nonetheless, hey, it's an entertaining name value fight, right? And it's not like Trump is a hardcore fan. I mean, he's a fan, but he's not a hardcore fan, right? Like, this is something that a casual would ask for. Oh, let's have Khabib and Jake Paul fight it out. That's a casual take. But nonetheless, I mean, you can't be a hardcore fan when you're too busy trying to break peace deals in the world, right? Or better yet, go to a UFC fight. Just have JD Vance go to Pakistan, try to make this deal with Iran, while you, as Donald Trump, you sit there in the UFC and let JD Vance do all the work and maybe even make him take all the blame as well.
I would be down for either one. I've always said one of the biggest fights that could happen in the world is me versus McGregor in MMA, and I'm down. But also me versus Khabib in MMA would be massive. So we need to get Khabib out of retirement.
Do you think that there's any sort of financial, incentive that you could offer to him to get him out? He seems pretty set on not fighting again, but
yeah, I don't think it would be about the money for him.
And Jake Paul is right about that. It's not about the money for him. So the reality is that you're not really going to you're not going to bring him out of his comfort, man. You're just not. You're not going to bring him out of his comfort. He's not going to get out of retirement. It's not so much comfort, right? It's just the principle of the thing. Look, let me explain something, right? I'm going to explain something to you guys that I think many of you are going to be shocked by, okay? Khabib will never return to MMA because he believes that MMA is haram. A lot of you people will not know that, but you're probably thinking, well, how is it that he thinks MMA is haram, yet he's still helping Islam Makhachev? Well, because he's already embedded himself into a business, into a job, into a lifestyle that he can not escape from. The only way that he can escape from is once Islam Makhachev retires as champion, and then Omar Nurmagomedov retires as champion, and then Usman Nurmagomedov retires as champion. Once all those guys are done, Team Eagle will be taken over by somebody else as a head coach and as a group of fighters that are coming up in the next generation of that stable. So why does Khabib think that MMA is haram? Okay, I'll explain to you. Number one, there's a lot of gambling involved in MMA. That's haram to begin with. There's a lot of ring card girls flamming around that really don't need to be there. That's haram in and of itself. Believe it or not, punching somebody in the face who is not an enemy but doing it for the sake of entertainment, that's haram. Okay? There are many aspects of MMA that are un-Islamic. There's a reason why, and I'm not glorifying these people in any kind of way. I'm just spewing facts on the tip of, a broken clock is correct twice a day type of thing, right? The Taliban has banned MMA for this reason alone, okay? Not that I agree with it. Obviously, I don't agree with it because I have an MMA channel, but there's a reason why the Taliban has banned MMA. And it is for the same reason why Khabib thinks MMA is haram and it's a business that he wants no part of any longer, let alone come back. He's trying to escape in a way where he wants to get the career of Khabib, get the career of Islam Makhachev, and get the career of Usman Nurmagomedov into the finish line. Once he's in the finish line, he's finished with MMA, period. They're going to ride off into the sunset as coaches and as fighters, and that'll be that. Who knows? Maybe one of them will become a coach. Maybe Islam will take over as a coach. Maybe somebody in the team will take over as a coach. But make no mistake, this is where he's at, right? Very similar when you have career mode on UFC, right? Maybe you have the majority. I think the most that you can have there is, I believe, 5 fighters or something like that. The maximum that you're allowed to have a career mode, 5 fighters. With that, uh, let's say you finish all of their career modes, right? You're done playing that game. That's sort of where Khabib is at with that analogy. So if you could think of it like that.
Maybe if it was for like a good cause or something that we could do together, that could be interesting. But
build a village in Dagestan.
Exactly. I'm down. I'll build it myself.
And you said you recently had the want to get into politics.
I don't want to get into politics. It's a very messy world, and yeah, it's just a lot of burden to be carried, but I just feel like it's necessary in some ways, and I've always been passionate about it since I was a kid, and I think at some point there's not a lot of people speaking to the younger generation about these important topics and things, and there's a lot of BS out there, and you just get lost on your Twitter feed with all this random junk that people are posting about on a daily basis. And I think there needs to be like a voice that has discernment and maybe more information than others that puts it out there. So that may be me, it may not be me, but someone's got to do it.
Speaking of helping the youth, it's been a pretty rough week for streamers out there. Clavicular ODs and Sneeko gets sucker punched.
Yeah.
What's it like seeing those moments happen, or what was your reaction to either of those?
Yeah, it's a interesting question. I think the problem with streaming culture is that you continue to have to do and say the most outrageous things to continue to stay relevant and to talk on insane topics and to have insane takes and conspiracy theories like Sneeko has, and Clavicular's doing drugs on stream.
I agree with him on this, right? So I think this is a good question that this complex interviewer is asking, right? Shout out to him. The reason why this is a good question: what catapulted Jake Paul into the world of boxing? Well, if you remember, his brother, Logan Paul, got into that incident in Japan back in 2017, right? He made fun of people that were unalived who unalived themselves in a forest in Japan, right? He got canceled for that. How did he rehabilitate his image? Through fighting. KSI had beef with this other UK streamer by the name of Joe Weller. They had beef going on, right? And they decided, we're going to settle this in a boxing ring. By the way, Jake Paul's career started because KSI had beef with Joe Weller. Okay, for those of you that don't know who Joe Weller is, he was a UK streamer, right, who had beef with KSI. So they got the fight. KSI won, got on the mic after he won, called out Jake Paul, Logan Paul. You know what? Let's see if we can pull up a video of that. Right here. This was wow. Like, thinking about it, this was 8 years ago. Let's hear KSI right here.
Look at me now. You said before this fight you had something planned. Is there anything you want to say to someone out there? You said you wanted to call someone out.
Wow. Obviously, man's got this belt right now. If any YouTuber wants it, you can come get it. Jake Paul, Logan Paul.
And it was at this moment where KSI built the career of Jake Paul and Logan Paul.
Any of the Pauls, I don't care. Bring it. Same. Yo, if any celebrity wants it, yo, where's Rio? Where's Rio Ferdinand? If Rio wants it, I know you're doing your Betfair thing. If you want some, bro, I'm ready, yo.
After that, I don't think so, but
I'm ready, dude. 4 months, bro. 4 months training. That's all I had.
So there you have it. That is what created the career of Jake Paul. And you know what? Let me tell you why him and his brother decided to stay into that, right? Because when they were streamers, if you remember, Jake Paul had to do the most. He had to do the most outrageous things in order to stay relevant. So when he's talking about this, he knows exactly what he's saying, and he can draw back conclusions in his mind like, okay, you know what? I understand what these streamers are going through. If you remember, Jake Paul made his dad make out with an underage girl. Okay, which by the I mean, come on, man. This is talking about taking it to the next level. What about Logan Paul, right? Why did he get canceled in the first place? Because he was trying to take it to the next level. He went to Japan to film a bunch of unalived bodies that purposely unalive themselves. Okay? Now, here's the thing. Here's my take on it, right? If you go and unalive yourself, that's on you. Because you know what? Under Islamic doctrines, it's haram. It is haram to commit suicide. Okay, I don't care if you're Ricky Hatton. I don't care if you're Robin Williams. I don't care if you are, whoever you know in your family that decided to do it to take the coward's way out. You can't do it. It's cowardly. Now, I would argue also that it's an even bigger sin and an even bigger transgression to make fun of a dead body, right? I mean, that's some straight up drill rapper shit right there, right? Like making fun of a dead body and all that. Yeah, you can't do that. It's haram, obviously. But by the end of the day, I don't know, man. Yeah, look, those unalive bodies, I guess, didn't deserve that. But in other words, man, look, not to digress, Logan Paul had to turn it up a notch. That is exactly what he is talking about right here, right? If you are a streamer, you have to turn it up a notch. So not only do you have to go to Japan and film a bunch of people unalived in the forest, now as Jake Paul, you got to have your dad do these make out blindfolded challenges, right? Which was weird in and of itself. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of that, or not a picture, a video of that. Okay, so I believe it was a 19-year-old, not exactly. Yeah, okay. Wow. Okay, his dad has an outdoors channel. Okay, Greg Paul Outdoors. Okay. All right. Where is Let me see if I can pull up a video.
I think I'm just gonna go fly.
Actually, you know what? I can't play this video because I actually did play this video one time, and and it did get flagged. So, all right, better to not play it. It's not worth it. You know what I mean? We're having such a good stream. But long story short, that's what you got to do as a streamer. You got to turn it up a notch in order to garner attention.
And it's just not a good thing for the world and for their fans and for the young kids that are watching. So I view it from that angle, but I also view it from like it is entertaining. So that's also part of the problem. Is it's like this is fucking outrageous to watch, which is why people are hooked in. But definitely times are weird in the content space, and it's this. I mean, I've been talking about it for a while. It's the YouTuber disease, where like, and I was caught with it as a kid. It's like, okay, this video got 10 million views today. I need to come up with a better idea the next day to beat myself out and to get more views. And you get caught in this never-ending cycle, and then before you know it, you're just doing crazy things. And so I've definitely contributed to where things have led, and I actually feel guilty about it, but I obviously was a young kid and like didn't realize the influence that I had. And
You know what, man? That's very big on him to admit that, right? Yeah, he is right, man. He did influence many of this, right? But at the same time, he's also refraining away from it, which is why he decided, you know what, I'm going to get into combat sports. There's a lot more realism to it. Like, I don't need to get, and jump myself out of my body, right? I don't have to do anything outrageous. I don't have to do anything weird, right? If beef comes and it becomes a weird situation, and it'll be that. It's organic. It's what it is. It's two guys having a conflict. But for Jake Paul, man, I think this is personal growth on his part on being able to admit this. That's what I think. I think that's very big on him to be able to admit it.
Creating that culture, and in hindsight, maybe would have done things differently, but I definitely feel guilt around that because this is where it's led to, and it's definitely not good.
One of your biggest videos, though, at doing research for this that took me back when it popped up. Every day, bro. Where do you rank that all-time diss rap tracks?
Well, what's funny is, like, people say it's a diss track, but I wasn't even making it as a diss track. I kind of just like threw in some shit talk bars for a second, but
Not Like Us, Everyday Bro.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not up there. Definitely not up there. For top diss tracks, I would say. What do you think the top diss track is?
Yeah, I'd go and Hit 'Em Up. Not Like Us. That's a diss track. What else was a good diss track from back in the days? Eazy-E, Real Mother Effin' G's. Still Dre, Dre Day, where he dissed Easy. Yeah, I mean, those are top diss tracks, I would say. Oh, 50 Cent going at Ja Rule. I smell pussy. Is that you, Ja? I smell pussy. Is that you, Irv? Yeah, that it's right up there on that one. Piggy Bank, 50 Cent Troll. Yes, he dissed Fat Joe, Cassidy, and a whole bunch of others. Yes, very good. Very good reference right there. Hate Love, man. Shout out to you, my man.
I mean, I guess you have to not have to say, but I do think Not Like Us was just like the biggest. Just when it came out, it just like it completely destroyed Drake's career.
I disagree. I think Family Matters is a better diss track.
So you think Drake won the
correct? Yeah,
won the war.
Yeah, because Kendrick's whole campaign against Drake was built on lies. Like, Drake's not a pedophile, and that's like what the whole song is about. And so, like, people bought into that because they want the top guy to go to the bottom.
You know what, man? I just had a revelation on that comment he just made right now. He's right. We do want to see the top guy fall. It's a natural human order that we have inside of us. For example, when you're a child, what is it that children do? They build and stack up bricks, Legos, only for them to knock it the F down. You know what I mean? What up, Young King? X-Stax says, man, X-Stax is in the building. Hate Love is in the building. Stone is in the building. Marty Miller, let me know if you're in the building. And John Dong is also in the building. Man, let's get some roll call going on here, man. Let me know if you guys are in the building. Shout out to all my kings out there. All my kings outside of Sacramento. Obviously, Sacramento is a city of kings, but all of you are kings in my eyes. And shout outs to all you guys right there. There's John Dong right there with the 5-hand fingers right there emoji. So yeah, man, it just dawned to me, right? Yeah, we do like to see guys that are on top get toppled down. Now look, here's the thing, right? Is Drake a pedophile? I mean, honestly, though, here's the thing about it, right? There's also the same debate with Donald Trump right now. Is Donald Trump, a pedophile? Well, it seems that there's a lot of Epstein files that seem to point to that direction, right? It seems to point to that direction. And you know what, man? There's a lot of people out there that are denying that because of their love for Donald Trump. Look, you want to know why Jake is defending Drake vehemently like this? Because Jake right now is on top of the world. Okay, he can only relate to people that are on top of the world. Now, everybody in California, man, they were behind Kendrick Lamar with that diss track because let's be honest, right? Before Kendrick Lamar, who was the top artist out of the West Coast? Now, look, obviously, for me, when it comes to what I play in the car and what I'm rocking with and what I got in my headphones, it's nothing but straight West Coast gangster rap all day, right? But a lot of it are artists that you never even heard of. A lot of it are artists that are personal homies of mine, people that I've known personally and whatnot. And it's just not anything that you guys are going to, get really into, right? So the West Coast really wasn't out there like that. Hate Love, thank you, my man. 7-month memberships on that one. Thank you for the memberships on that one, my man. Shout out to you on that one, man. Thank you for the love. Hate Love, sending the love this way, man. So shout out to you on that. So yeah, man, Jake Paul can only relate to the upper echelons people of the world right now. That's why he defends Trump vehemently, even though a lot of people are saying that he's a pedophile. This is also the same reason why people are defending Drake, right? Because look, everybody in the West Coast was getting behind Kendrick Lamar because for a long time we really felt like we were getting pushed out of the hip hop scene, right? Atlanta was doing big. Drake was sponsoring a lot of the artists down in Atlanta. Drake was the biggest artist in the world. Gangster rap was dying because of Drake, because Drake made it look like that, you know what, you don't have to be a gangster to be a top rapper, right? You can be, I mean, he's not a civilian. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. I don't know if Drake would snitch on anybody, but I would imagine that nobody would fault him for doing so. But yeah, man, I just think that Jake Paul does have a point, though, right? A lot of people did want to see him get toppled as a result of that.
And to be ripped down, that's in human nature. They did
there it is. He just said it right there. That's human nature, right? And by the way, I have not seen this interview prior, but yes, he took the words right out of my mouth on that one. It is human nature that we want to see people fall.
Where they put like 6 monkeys in a room and a ladder and the banana up on top of the ladder, and the one monkey that went and got the banana, they started like ripping him down because he had the courage to go get the banana up the ladder. So that's just and we've evolved from monkeys.
Wow. Okay, now I don't believe in none of that we've evolved from monkeys, but there is something symbolic to that, right? So he said that a bunch of monkeys, okay, they didn't go after the banana on top of the stick or on top of the tree, but the one monkey that was brave enough to go and get it, they tried to tear him down. Okay, I mean that right there is just symbolic and true in every sense of the word. And yeah, man, very profound statement and analogy right there.
So like that's in our nature, and so that's basically what happened with Drake. And the whole campaign from Kendrick was built on him being a pedophile, and he's not. And people just bought into it because fuck Drake, he's the top guy, he's been running the game for years. So that's why I think Drake edged him out.
Don't you think perception's reality, though? That if you just hear everyone saying that everywhere, that regardless if it's true or not, that...
Yeah, but I live in truth, though. That's the difference. That's why I think Drake won.
Aside from...
Well, that's interesting that he said that, right? He says that he lives in truth. You live in a world of upper echelon elites. Okay, and by the way, a buddy of mine works with Jake Paul, right? I kind of see that in him as well, right? Like, let's just not go into that. But, we do get a lot of disagreements with Trump. I'll say that, right? I'll just say that. Me and this guy get into a lot of disagreements with Trump. And the way that he defends Trump, it is as if Trump can do no wrong, right? Where is that coming from? That comes from elitism, right? Supporting the elite, supporting those that are on top. Whereas in California, we sort of have this very iconoclastic mentality that spans back from Charles Manson, as dark as that is, all the way to Orlando Anderson blasting Tupac. Hate Love says, Sean threatened Khamzat. Must have been when Khamzat was not in the USA. Man is dumb. Neon got banned for a threat of a punch in Sean thinks he can walk in strap. Man, he really baffles me at times. Well, I mean, look, it's not like the UK, my man. You know, you are allowed guns here, so and there's also self-defense laws. So I highly doubt. I think he's just being over dramatic. I highly doubt Khamzat wants to go after him. Maybe after the fight, right? But not before the fight, where he wants to get a name under his belt, get a title defense under his belt. You know what I mean? And for Sean Strickland to ruin all of that, his opportunity at a title shot, I don't know, man. That's that doesn't seem like a logical thing for Sean Strickland to do. Then again, when is Sean Strickland really a logical person to begin with?
MVP. You also are Glizzy Gladiator. Doghouse.
Yes.
How's the hot dog business?
Man, it's great. It is good, man. It's been very fun. I think it's funny. Like, I went to Doghouse, tried the product, and I was like, this is amazing. I love this place and just the vibes. And I was like, I need to become a franchisee. I put it out on social media, got in touch with the CEO, and then started building out my stores. But the product is very good. I'm a fat kid at heart, and I love the chicken wings, the cheeseburger, hot dogs, all the things on the menu, the breakfast burrito. So fell in love with it. And yeah, it's cool to own things in the physical world. Like, I think a lot of shit's digital now, but when you like have a location, you can actually go to it and enjoy experiences there is really neat.
Is it crazy to you that with your Mike Tyson fight, that the clip of him showing ass was like the most like viewed portion of it?
Yeah, sex sells, man.
Yeah, look, in my humble opinion, I think that was nothing more than I mean, look, I'm not a conspiracy theory type of guy or anything like that, but sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. It seems like Illuminati humiliation ritual of some sort that they had going on with Mike Tyson on that one. But yeah.
No, but I was watching it backstage, and I just couldn't believe it. I was watching the TV. I was like, what the fuck? What is going on? But that's Mike for you. And yeah, I don't know, like, how he's wearing the cup with no underwear. It would probably get like pretty weird down there. Probably would be pretty painful, but it is what it is.
Just the last thing I want to ask you, just selfishly, you were in Armenia recently with Arman in like 9 feet of snow, eating like 14-pound plates of kebab.
Yeah.
How was it?
Arman's amazing and Armenia's amazing. I feel like they're like my long lost brothers.
Yeah.
They remind me a lot of where I'm from in Ohio, just on the other side of the world. And
yeah, they did that in the back locker room. Sorry, I won't say it. They showed Tyson's cheeks. Yeah, they did they did that. Yeah, they did that just a few hours before the fight. So yeah.
And yeah, it was really cool to experience the culture, and everyone there is super nice. And yeah, I definitely want to go back, and it's definitely the most amount of snow that I've ever seen in my life.
And is there anything else you want to plug or promote as far as the fights go or businesses?
I think we got you a little gift. We just dropped some new formulas.
Okay.
In Walmart. And yeah, this is for you.
Awesome, thank you.
You're gonna be smelling good. Go get that view.
I appreciate you taking your time.
Thank you, man.
For Complex, it's been Matt Welty.
All right, so we're gonna go to Sean Strickland here. Okay, his open workout scrum right here.
The press conference. Like, not the press conference. Are we going to have a press conference with me and Chimaev? Can he keep his shit together? Okay. What about, like, when we don't got to sit down now, right?
No, you're fine right
So, no, I'm saying, like, they sit down.
Fight week as well.
Oh, it's like...
It's a big fight.
Oh, gotcha. So I get to berate you guys fight with you. All right. Hey, there's a woman here. I don't really see that often. How's that, you guys? Is it nice? Not a lot of women in this industry besides you. How's your boy doing? How's your boy doing? Is he top or bottom?
I think they got the answer to that. Are you sure?
No, he's bottom for sure, dude. No, dude, I actually love that guy. I love it.
So, Sean, obviously, every fight you go into, there's a little bit of back and forth ahead of it. But this one feels like there might be some real sort of bad blood involved. Do you have an issue with Khamzat Chimaev personally ahead of this fight?
I mean, dude, here's the thing. Here's the thing about Chimaev, guys. Like, he's just a weak man, you know? Like, he's just a weak man. Like, if you look at, like, Chimaev and his track record of life, like, he whored himself out to Cadero, now he's whoring himself out to Jackson. Like, he's just a weak man. And the guy can fight, I'll give you that, dude. But let me put down the sponsor. But he's just a real weak man, you know?
When you look at that fight he had with DDP, are you able to take anything from it, or do you think DDP sort of offered such little resistance there's not a lot you could really work with?
You know,
breaking it down.
I said this, and I'll say it again with DDP. I thought it was going to be an easy fight for him, caveat, if he knew how to wrestle, right? So, like, I've been training with these fucking, like, mountain men, these, like, go-fuckers for a real long time, dude. For a real long fucking time. I know when they get on your leg and they start trying to dry hump you and they start fighting the homosexual tendencies, dude. I know what that's.
Here we go. Here's the coping mechanism of Sean Strickland right now, where he's going to talk about how, oh, you know, they like to hump legs or this and that, because you know that it's coming and you know that you can't stop it.
I know what that's like, you know? When you're that repressed, you got to try to deliver it to a man in the cage. Real uncomfortable. Anyway, so I've been dealing with these fuckers my entire life.
Look, what is it with these dudes, right? They always try to go back into these, you know, sexual repression, homosexual innuendos for whatever reason it is, right? Like, it's such a weird way to, you know, try and insult someone. On top of that, just bringing up, you know, a whole bunch of stuff that isn't true. I mean, you know, let's be real, right? Like, come on, like, really, like, homosexual tendencies, like, you know, can't you come up with anything better?
I know what to expect. And then with Dreykus, you know, in South Africa, I don't know if he has that kind of, like, caliber of grappler. So it came down to me, like, if you had that caliber of grappler, then you know what to expect. But, yeah, South Africa, man, there's probably not a lot of those fucking Chechens there.
Is it as simple as Khamzat's a bully fighter who gets his way if he's aggressive, and if you can just stop that, eventually throughout 25 minutes, he'll be the one to start breaking you?
I mean, dude, my man Gilbert, he put it on him, you know? I mean, at 55, this guy's like this big. I love Gilbert. You're a fucking savage, but, like, put it on his ass. No, dude, the thing about, like, I don't know, man. I just don't think he's that. Even when I sparred him, you know, he's just kind of a one-trick pony, one hard punch, tries to fucking dry hump you, gets tired, you know. He's a real soft man. But, like, let's be honest, you guys. Me, Sean Strickland, almost died in a motorcycle accident. I'm missing half my fucking leg. I'm in a leg brace boxing.
TBH. What does TBH mean again? He says, I hear Sean keep bringing up for any reason he ain't got no brain cells. Him sober, I think, will help him as a person. As at the moment, even his supporters are kind of not happy. What are you saying? They're not happy that he's sober? Explain that.
This guy gets fucking COVID and retires. Like, fucking COVID, bro, retired him. All he had to call this motherfucker and say, hey, I need a fucking paycheck. You get your...
To be honest. Okay, got it.
Whore ass back in line and you fucking fight. And, bro, I'm not like... I know you look at me like I'm being sarcastic. I'm not being sarcastic. That is exactly what happened. He said, hey, make me a fucking paycheck. Get your little whore ass up there and give me a fucking fight. But, I mean, like, dude, you think the common cold would make me retire?
He is right, though. Ramzan Kadyrov did get Khamzat Chimaev out of retirement.
My fucking arm off. I'm like, I'm good. So the reason why I bring that up is, you know, I mean, are you going to retire from your job because you get COVID?
Probably not.
I mean, COVID's not even real, dude.
Had it a few times.
Helen's up in the back. She's the one that invented it. I see you, Helen. Put some clothes on. Jesus Christ.
Okay, so the reference that he's talking about, right, I believe, okay, so because I'm very familiar with, you know, MMA media, right, he's talking to Joe Schmo, right, who is married to Helen Yee. Now, when he said that Helen Yee started COVID, that is in reference to the fact that Helen Yee is Chinese, right? So yeah, you know where he's going with that. He's saying that, you know what, she's Chinese, and as a result of her being Chinese, um, yeah, she's the one that started the whole thing. So that's the reference that he's talking about to kind of give you guys a bit of some context there.
Do you think, he's already talking about, like, oh, if you guys run into each other, blah, 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 like, he'll have his friends with him, you won't have anyone.
All I'm going to do, I'll pull my gun out my shit.
Okay, good to know. But do you anticipate any...
But I'll tell you what, but that being said, if Chimaev were to come up to me as a gentleman and say, hey, you know what? You said some things, you insulted my wife, I actually love sheep, it's crazy. Then I would be like, I love goats, dude. Goat tastes good. He loves goats. We have that in common. I just don't fuck him. But anyways, if he were to come up to me like a man, say, Sean, you said some things about my dad, Kaderov. I'm like, well, you know what, dude? You hoard yourself out, not me. I want to settle this. I would say,
it's a bit of a, like, an American privilege to say, well, you're whoring yourself to a dictator, like, as if these guys have a choice, right? I mean, look, granted, you live in America where you have the choice to be friends with Donald Trump or choose not to be friends with Donald Trump, but that's, that's just the privilege that you have as an American, as opposed to somebody who's a Chechnyan or a Dagestani that may not have the same privileges as you. I mean, all I got to say to that, Sean, is count your blessings, right? But at the same time, it's just low-hanging fruit for you to create something out of a person that you consider an enemy. Hate Love says, no, I'm saying from my friends, they are pissed as Sean should have grown as a person. I'm Team Khamzat, but my friends think he is a waste of talent. People here hate him. He will never grow as a person. Sorry, not able to explain properly. Okay, I know what you mean, right? Like, meaning that Sean is just, stuck at, who he is and who he's going to be for the rest of his life. I get exactly what you mean by that.
let's settle this like a man. But if you come up to me with 3 fucking goat fucker Chechens that don't speak English, I'm going to pull my gun and I'm going to shoot each and every one of you.
All right, well, I think that's a fair warning.
All right, so obviously that statement right there is the focal point of this whole entire stream, right? Now, is he really going to do that just by the explanation and by the body language that he's talking about here? No, obviously, I told you guys, this is all nothing but hyperbole, nothing but exaggeration, and Sean Strickland just building a fight, and that is indicative of the smile that you're seeing right now in this video.
You have been the champion before, right?
You have me strapped to New Jersey too, dog. Don't even worry about that.
No doubt. You were champion before, and I remember when you won that belt, you were sort of saying like, this doesn't really mean anything. But now you've had time not being the champion. Are you a little bit like...
Oh, yeah, of course, Hate Love, man. Shout out to you.
Nah, fuck, I want that belt back.
Man, I mean, again, I think there's a part of me that, like, I understand what it is to be like, and this sounds weird, right? You have to fucking track me, pirate man. You got to trap, bro. You got to track. Chasing like this fake thing, and it's like this fake thing. Dana White goes, and Dana White makes a lot of money, dude. All the yachts, all the everything, Married man, lovely guy, great kids, but the guy gets he has a lot of good shit. This guy, bro, like, he created this thing that we go die over, and you got the little twerker chick. Was it not the twerker? The girl doing she's doing delivery. What's her name?
Perez.
Yeah, Eileen Perez is doing like delivery and shit.
Has an OnlyFans too. I think you commented on that in the past.
Did I comment on that? Does she actually does she get naked? Does she show her pussy, or is it just like
she described it as art?
Does she show her pussy though?
Exactly.
Oh, did you look? You dirty fucker. You know you looked. But I feel like, dude, as a media man, you got to stay on top of that. You just shouldn't jerk off like you do, but you should stay on top.
Going back to what you were just saying though about.
So, anyways, I love fighting.
What is Sean's obsession with masturbation? I just don't get it. I think this is like a white guy humor thing that he likes to, constantly push.
Because it's who I am as a person. I only have this. I mean, the only reason why you guys are talking to me here, like, is fighting, right? I mean, I'm a fucking degenerate fucking lowlife. If it wasn't for this, where the fuck would I be? So I appreciate fighting for kind of what it is. It gave me this, like, chance, this opportunity. But, like, I'm not going to go jerk off over a piece of metal that, like, makes somebody rich. That being said, I love fighting, and I'm stoked that I get to fucking fight a little fucking whore. Like Fluffy Hernandez, I wanted to fight because it was a good fight. But, like, I like the guy. He's a great fucking guy. He's a true American. We got to talk about the Mexican flag he represents, but it's good American. Chimaev, he's a fucking dirty fucking beep, 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 beep. I'm going to sound like a lot of isms right now.
You chose to beep at that point, not despite everything I've said.
Yeah.
But when you look at the fight itself, last one for me, when you look at the fight itself, do you anticipate having to weather a storm here, or do you think actually he'll be the one who comes out? Maybe that sparring session will be in his mind, and you can put him through.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I honestly don't know if he'll wrestle me enough. I know he does it against Brendan Allen, which is sad if you got to wrestle Brendan Allen. I'm like, I got about my boy Johnny over here. Joe, man, come on. Talk these fucking guys. If Brendan Allen was right here and you were to watch Johnny spar Brendan Allen, Johnny could fuck him if he wanted to. He could truly fuck him if he wanted to. Wouldn't.
Okay, so what he isn't referencing to is the fact that Khamzat Chimaev brought in Brendan Allen as a sparring partner. Okay, Brendan Allen is obviously a UFC, middleweight, and Johnny Eblen is, I believe, the world champion of Bellator at 185, right? So Sean is basically just saying that, he has a superior training partner than what Khamzat Chimaev has going on. So that's basically what Sean is implying here.
On the record, I wouldn't fight. I'd fuck him up. Yeah, no,
That's on the record, you wouldn't. Okay.
So you're posting these clips of you beating Brendan Allen, bro? I don't even Brendan Allen has an Instagram handle on his truck, bro. You're pretty much fighting a woman, bro. You're beating up a woman. I'm out here training one of the baddest men in the fucking planet, and you're beating up fucking Brendan Allen thinking you're training, dog. You ain't fucking training, dude. You're beating up a woman. Oh, Johnny. But yeah, this guy's
Hate Love says, I think his past kind of made him fruity. Maybe he secretly craves all that gay stuff that he just scared of coming out of the closet. I mean, you know what, man, listen, I don't even want to throw that at Sean Strickland, right? Because, listen, I get what you're saying, Hate Love. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate what you're saying. But at the same time, I got to be honest. That just sounds like the same thing that Sean Strickland would say about his opposition, right? Or anybody that he disagrees with to a certain extent. That's just my opinion on that matter. I mean, you can hold a different opinion on that. But yeah, he says, oh, that's where he gets his newfound confidence. Okay.
He's actually helped me out a lot, so.
What do you think of Johnny Evans' wrestling compared to Khamzat's wrestling?
Oh, he's a freight train, dude. You just don't fucking stop. I'm telling you, I always say, dude, I'm so glad.
This is stupid. I'm going to tell you why this is stupid, right? So he's comparing the wrestling of Johnny Eblen to Khamzat Chimaev. Now, Khamzat Chimaev wrestled in Sweden, okay? For anybody that knows about wrestling, that's not really that impressive, and I get that. But for MMA, he has great wrestling. He obviously trains with Armin, great wrestling. He's trained with Abdul Rashid Sajalayev, who is literally the Usyk of Olympic heavyweight wrestling. And how does Khamzat do against Abdul Rashid Sajalayev? He does pretty dang good against the heavyweight champion of the world in wrestling. Okay, he does pretty good. Man, you're not training with guys like that. Johnny Eblen is not training with guys like that. Woke No Coke says, I think Khamzat is, that's kind of weird for you to say. But, smash, the word smash comes from, obviously, Khabib saying, I'm going to smash everybody. And he just took that phrase. There's no sexual innuendo to that whatsoever. Hate Lev says, nah, bro, it's KL, get you? What do you mean by that? What is KL? It's just that he can't go 1 month without talking ish about gays, but I get you, bro. Yeah, no. And the thing is, look, it's white guy humor, right? Where's Marty Miller? Let me know if you're in here, right? Me and you have talked about this extensively, Marty Miller, right? We talked about how white guys, okay, and Marty Miller being a white guy himself, he can also admit this. I was joking. Okay, no problem. He says, but it's not weird to call Sean gay. All right. No, that's woke no cloak. Listen, this is why I disagreed with Hate Love on that particular topic. I said don't do that. I mean, I didn't tell him to not do that. I don't have the right to tell anybody what to do here. I don't even tell him who to ban or not to ban. I let him do it at his own discretion because I trust him, right? But yeah, I don't tell anybody what to do here. But I am going to disagree with you if if I feel that it's something to disagree upon, and I disagree with the fact that you want to also throw homosexual innuendos at Sean Strickland, right? Sean Strickland just likes to joke about it because, like what I told you, this is a white guy culture type of thing. White guys, straight white guys, for whatever reason, for whatever reason, feel that they can joke about being gay in a way that, other races of men, usually don't. Now, for other races of men that actually go out and make these, gay innuendos or this and that. Okay, so Woke No Coke says, no, you didn't need to erase that. Khamzat is white, but the thing is that we don't fall into, look, Arabs are also considered white, right? But we don't fall into the same cultural category as, let's say, white Americans or white British people that have, a completely different culture than us, right? It's way deeper than skin color on that regard. But all right, let's go back to Sean Strickland on this one right here.
That Johnny's not in the UFC. I'm also, it's kind of a damn shame he's not, because he's so fucking good. But it's like one of those weird things. Well, no, he's getting a lot of money. PFL to take care of the guy. Guy has like 10 houses, has a Lambo at home. Like, the guy makes way more money than him. But it's kind of a damn shame because the fucking dude is a savage.
One for me. Why do you think
Yeah, that's a damn shame that you're a former UFC champion, right? In the same weight class, and Johnny Eblin is a current champion and makes more money than you at a lesser organization. I mean, that's crazy. He says, okay, bro, my bad. Here, we don't say that. No worries. I get you. Yeah. No problem, man. No problem. By the way, sorry about that, Woke No Coke. Not the worst comment that you made. But yeah, it is true. Khamzat is white. I mean, the Caucasus Mountains. What is the Caucasus Mountains? That is a derivative of the word Caucasian. So, but they're Muslim by the end of the day. So, that, for me, that trumps over racial politics. But I get you as well.
you leapfrogged your old friend Nazarin Imavov when you beat Fluffy?
Here's the thing. It's just the UFC does this. They go find these like shitty fucking people in these third world fucking countries, and it's like, and like, do you really give a fuck about a French guy that doesn't even claim fucking France, dude? I mean, the guy's probably deep inside a goat right now. The motherfucker don't like you guys. Like, I'm asking you as an American fan, do you really want to see Imanov after he gets done fucking off his prayer rug to go fucking fight? No, you don't want to see that shit, bro. Like, UFC is ruining the sport. We've accepted Alex because Alex is a fucking American, lives in America, loves fucking guns, likes fucking pussy, maybe a little bit too much. Maybe a little bit too much.
Yeah, and because Alex is a trick, let's be honest about this, right? Alex Pereira is a simp, okay? And the Nina drama content has shown that he's a simp. Sean hanging out with Nina is an L. There you go, right? He's also another simp hanging out with Nina. Anybody that hangs out with Nina, and unfortunately, I have to put Armin Sarukian in that category. All of you guys are simps. I'm sorry to say. Dana White is a simp. Oh, yeah. I heard you had nice feet. Ha ha. I mean, how much of a simp do you have to be to do that? But anyways.
But we accepted this motherfucker because he's like the American dream, right? We look at Alex and like, yeah, you're Brazilian, but you're also American. Imanov, these motherfuckers, we don't accept you guys. We don't even want to.
First of all, man, how do you even claim that Pereira is an American? How do you even claim that? When he goes out on dates, I kid you not, right? This is a fact. When he goes out on dates, that fat guy that's with him, his translator, he needs to be around him in order for him to talk to women. Okay, English-speaking women. So I don't understand this idea that he's more American than anybody. Well, I don't know. Maybe if you want to be American first, maybe you ought to learn some English. I don't know. Maybe a little bit of an English would help for you to assimilate in America, right? But you have your translator walking around with you while you're out on dates, which is, just weird in and of itself. But yeah, Alex Pereira is really American, yet he could barely speak English.
I fucking see you guys. You could be the best fighter in the world, dude, but nobody gives a fuck.
Would you say you've evolved more than Khamzat?
Oh yeah, UNLV. Do you do college kid?
He says, LOL, that should be a minimum standard. So this is exactly what I mean when I say that Sean Strickland is not an ideologue, right? What I mentioned very early into the stream, I said Sean Strickland is not an ideologue. He doesn't have any ideas or principles that he stands on. You know, in fact, he has no principles at all, right? The only principle that he stands on is just basically operating off of his own desires, okay? That is Sean Strickland in a nutshell. So yeah, Alex Pereira, you know, even though they fought, even though Alex Pereira knocked him out, they built a relationship after that, right? So he likes Alex Pereira. So yeah, he gets to be one of the boys. I get to claim that he's American because of X, Y, and Z. But the reality is, you know, how much of an American can you be when you barely speak English? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call selective politicking. Okay, selective politics. That is Sean Strickland in a nutshell. He is selective politicking on Alex Pereira. And yet here's Imavov, who actually knows French, is actually assimilated into his culture and his country that he lives in. And so did Khamzat. He speaks Swedish as well as Chechenian, and he speaks English as well while he's training here in America. I don't know, man. That's an American to you? Alex Pereira, yeah, he's an American. But yet he needs a translator to go out on dates with English-speaking women. So I don't know. Like, I don't know how far that translator is going to follow. I'm sorry. How far that translator is going to follow Alex Pereira into his dates, right? What if, I don't know, what if they start getting into, well, what, you're going to bring him in there? Hey, do you like that? Huh? You know what I mean? Hey, ask her if she likes that. Like, come on, man. Human Made says, hey, Kyrie, what's the odds on Khamzat and Strickland? Is Strickland a huge underdog? More than likely, Sean Strickland is a huge underdog. And by round one, you're going to see exactly why that is, right? So the way that I see it, Khamzat Chimaev is going to shoot in very early, right? If that's not successful, believe it or not, you'll probably see a much better striking on the part of Khamzat than you would at Sean Strickland. Woke No Coke says, I think Strickland was like 45 plus, 455 plus last time I checked. Okay.
Kid, let's go. Dude, what are you studying? Journalism? Oh, I'm so sorry, dude. How did you fuck up there, dude? Look at these fucking guys. You sure you want to do that?
I graduated in 2 weeks.
No, actually, my girl has a degree in journalism.
She could be here asking you questions.
Yeah, right.
Just one for me.
She would leave me immediately. She would like, my girl doesn't know who I am. Do you think she knows who I am, bro? I lie to my girl 24/7. She doesn't know me.
Would you say you've gone more than Khamzat since that time you guys were out here at Extreme?
Okay, Woke No Coke says, sorry, it's a 355. Okay, all right. So he made a little bit of an error there on the odds that he's talking about. Okay, thank you for the correction. So yes, 355 plus Sean Strickland is the underdog. He says odd makers not giving Strickland much chance, and rightfully so, man. I mean, obviously I'm going to sound biased on this, but I just don't see Sean Strickland winning this at all.
You know, man, dude.
And Woke No Coke says Khamzat is minus 490 favorite. Minus 490 favorite. Okay.
I think what the benefit of me, why I grow as a fighter, I just love the sport. I love this shit, man. I'm out. Johnny's out here. I'm gonna go help him out after his fight. Like, my growth as a fighter comes from the love of the sport and not really like, let's go do drills because I'm gonna go fight this guy. I want to train with the best. I want to train the best wrestlers. But yeah, bro, you gotta be a little bit more strong, man, intimidating. You know, like good. How old are you?
21.
21. All right. Well, we got to ESPN pick this guy. Don't make them fight this guy.
Just one for me, Sean. You mentioned Alex a couple weeks after your fight. We'll see him at the White House. What do you make of him moving up at weight?
He said, yeah, Khamzat will sub him in round one. Wow, man, that's quite a quick prediction. You know what? Zane Musa Boxing, the guy who I've done streams with here, said that as well, right? But I think yeah, man, as much confidence as I have for Khamzat, as much as you guys, I would say that he would have to cook him a little bit more as time goes on.
Wait, you spend time in the cage.
So maybe round 2 or 3 is when he, gets to finish him. Woke No Coke says Eblin isn't even half the wrestler Khamzat is. And you know what? Listen, Eblin is not even half the wrestler Abdul Rashid Sajulayev is, the current gold medal world champion in heavyweight wrestling, basically the Usyk of heavyweight wrestling right now, right? And that is who Khamzat, trains with. So, there you go, man. Yeah, man. I don't like the chances of him in wrestling. And you know what? Even if you got Johnny Eblin in there wrestling you, Johnny Eblin can't get in there and fight for you, man. Keep that in mind, man. Johnny Eblin cannot get in there and fight for you or wrestle for you. So, let's not lose perspective of that.
His chances against Cyril Gahn and the White House card overall.
Oh, I know. I think he's going to fucking piece her up. I think it's great, man. I mean, has there ever been a three-time weight class champion? I mean, it's awesome. Guys making history. A fucking American dream comes here, has a tire shop, alcoholic, fucking quits that, fucking super loaded, all the pussy, all the fame. Like, I love Alex. You want to talk about the American dream, bro? That's Alex. Just a 6'4", giant, fucking angry Brazilian.
Do you feel a certain way that you are on the White House card, being such a proud American?
I mean, I don't know, dude. I do make fun of Trump a lot. I mean, the list got a little weird. Right? It got a little weird, I think they know that I would be like, I think they know that I probably want to shut the fuck up. I think they know. I would win a fight and be like, so guys, are we going to release that anytime soon? Which one of you?
Yeah, you know what? That is probably, credit to Sean Strickland. That's probably the reason why they did not put him in the White House card, simply because, yeah, he will ask questions about, the Epstein files and whatnot. So, yeah, they are not trying to get that smoke. Woke No Coke says it's training camp versus wrestling since he was a child. It's like learning a new language for 6 months, then trying to speak it with a native. Facts.
You fuck the kids.
He says that Aaron, little boy, learn how to spell. Aaron, did Aaron say something that I didn't see Aaron's comments? Yeah. What is that in reference to, Hate Love?
That's JD Vance. What's the widow's name? Erica. JD Vance is trying to slide up on Erica. Bro, I was actually thinking about that the other day. I was like, dude, if my girl died, I'd pull out this fight. Like, there's not a lot of things that make me pull out of this fight, but like, if my girl died, I'm pulling out of the fight. I'm gonna vanish, bro. I'm gonna be fucked up. Like, I'll be fucked up. Might have to go get some fucking hookers. Maybe a lot of them get a drug addiction. At least. But then allow us to accept, hey, my wife died. I'm fucking this hooker. I'm doing these drugs. Like,
no, Woke No Coke. I'm just reading the comments as they're first coming in.
Real fucking acceptable. Hey guys, relax over there. It's real acceptable. Anyways, this bitch is like sending the fireworks, come up on JD Vance. Like, it's just weird, dude. What I'm saying, dude, guys, politics, I don't like it.
What did you think of the assassination?
Bro, what was that guy thinking, man? Californians are fucking idiots, dude. I mean, fast as fuck, dude. Fast as fuck.
It's a good run.
Fast as fuck, bro. But like, you come with a pump back and shotgun, and you try to run through. I don't know, man. I mean, I will say one thing, dude. There's some things I like about Trump. I like these building the walls. I like the trade. I don't like the war in Iran. It's a gas tax on American, but he's a fucking G, bro. He's a fucking G. Like, literally, dude, millions of people want to murder you, and you're just like, bring it on, pussies. Like, that's kind of fucking dope.
Did you happen to see Dana White's reaction during the whole thing?
Yeah, I see Aaron's comments now, guys. Yeah.
Interviewed him afterwards. They were telling him to get under tables, and he just said
Let me tell you, I'm sure Dana White is a sociopath. Like, I mean, let's be honest. Like, at that level, let's be honest. Like, at that level of like.
Yeah, I agree. I told you guys. Listen. I told you guys. Okay. Because I know this from experience, okay? Guys that are psychopaths or sociopaths or guys that are just not right up there, they love situations like that, okay? They love being in shootouts, as do I, okay? I love that shit. I do. I can't help it.
What he's accomplished, the kind of shit he deals with, like, I'm sure, like, he's a super narcissistic sociopath. So, like, for him, like, the lizard brain doesn't kind of compute. So he's like, fuck it, bring it on, dude. Let's go, motherfucker, which I respect. Respect that.
Were you surprised?
Hate Love says, Aaron, no, it's no. Go to school and learn to read and write. You're kind of scummy to be so be respectful. I warned you last time at least. Contribute to the stream instead of chatting BS. Okay.
What, the Dana White? No, yeah, no, I think Dana White would love to watch the motherfucking kill, dude. Yeah, no, he's a sick fuck, dude. 100%. I mean, come on, did we not think that about Dana White? Like, the guy's probably a fucking sociopath, or even, I wouldn't say he's probably a psychopath.
He is your boss.
Yeah, I wish fucking, that's why I'm not making, that's why I should be making more money, dude. I gotta deal with these fuckers.
And you know what's funny, man? Dana White says the same thing about Sean Strickland, right? He thinks Sean Strickland is completely out of his mind. But here's the thing with Dana White, though, okay? Dana White is a Sigma male compared to Sean Strickland. Aaron says, you can't hurt my feelings, bub, try again. Okay, so a little conflict going on in the chat right now. Yeah, Dana White is a Sigma male, right? So even though he feels this way about Sean Strickland as well, Dana White is a little bit more on the undercover when it comes to his feelings on on these particular topics, right? He's a little bit more reserved and hides it a little bit better than most people, right? That's kind of what Dana White is. He knows how to hide his his intentions, right? He's not out there just putting out there, oh, this is how I feel, this is what I want, this is what I want to do. None of that, right? But sometimes you do see it come out. Obviously, a volatile situation like that, guess what happens? He's right on it. You know what I mean? Like showing his true colors. He says, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I just don't take BS from people like you. Respect the stream or leave. Okay.
Now we know. What? Oh, is it Russia? I got you. Oh, Russia, dude. Let's go. Wait. You say you're from Russia?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
You're from America?
Yeah, I got you.
Look, I know that.
Ukraine, what, dude?
Huh?
You guys almost done with that? About Ukraine? What are we talking about here?
Oh, let's talk about
I actually want to go to Russia, but I don't trust Russia because it's such a fucked up place where, like, I think if I went there, they're gonna pull up my tweets and be like, hey, you remember on July 2nd when you said Putin's a little dick psychopath? Guess what? You're in prison. So I would love to see Russia, but I would need some kind of like I just need some kind of like a written document, Sean. We're not gonna throw you in jail for making fun of fucking Putin and all the people that he's murdered and all those political dissidents. So he shut the fuck up. But I'd love to see it. All right, I got you.
Sean, how many times did you actually train?
He says, unless Kyrie tells me to leave, I will not leave because this is not your channel. Okay, we got a little bit of some conflict going on in the chat right now.
Khamzat, was he here for a long time?
We actually didn't train a few times. He's kind of like, I mean, I told you the story, but I'll give you an example. So, like, I walk into a gym and I see Johnny, and I'm like, dude, that's a bad motherfucker. I want to train with him. He wasn't really like that. He would kind of like pick and choose his rounds and just fuck people up. There's a clip of me like, hey, and I'm like people can't see the sarcasm. I'm like, dude, you're the best. You're the best. Like, dude, you're beating the fuck out of a guy who is like 3-3, a 170 who should be a 55er, and you're beating the living fuck out of this guy. Like, what is the point? You got so many good guys here. Well, he's this big, and my opponent is this big. I'm like, dude, it's like, at this point, go hit the fucking punching bag. You're just being a fucking dick. Me, I don't give a fuck, dude. If I have a choice, if Francis Ngannou, which he's not allowed in the UFC anymore, which really sucks. I'd love to bring him in here, but, you guys, they got real fucking salty about that. I don't know why, dude. Like, support the guy, right? How many more yachts do you need, motherfuckers? But if Francis...
Yo, okay, you know what? He's bringing up something really interesting here, right? Okay, so obviously, for those of you that don't know, Sean Strickland trains in the same gym as Francis Ngannou, okay? He obviously brought in Johnny Eblen, no big deal, right? Not a UFC fighter, but obviously, if you notice in the microphones right there, one of the microphones is a UFC microphone, right? So they are saying that they did not want Francis Ngannou to be part of this interview, but they wanted Johnny Eblen. And he's right, man. Like, how many more yachts do you need, right? Like, is he really hurting your bottom dollar that he's out to fight at a Ronda Rousey card? I mean, yeah, it is rather weird. It is rather weird that they didn't do that. But, again, it kind of goes back into, yeah, spite. I think that's just what it really comes down to, right? There's a lot of spite that is going on here, and that's the reason why they decided, they did not want him in there. But yeah, that's the very interesting point that Sean is bringing up here.
Nagani was here, and I had a choice between Francis and the Pirate. I'm gonna spar Francis all day long.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and even though you train, dude, you probably fuck all these guys up. But what I'm saying, dude, is he's just a weak man, and I mean, the guy can fight. But he's just like mentally weak. COVID retired him. He's a weak fucking man. You know this. Like, we all agree that he's a pretty weak man.
With him saying this, he says, "Me versus Hate Love, UFC 330." Yo, what 330? So that would be Philadelphia, right? Okay, that's pretty good. I guess you got, he lives in England. He flies over to the East Coast. I don't know what part of the world, what part you are from, Aaron Maga. I don't, or what part. I would assume you're in the United States, but let me know what part of the United States that is. So, okay, this right here.
This is a weak fucking man. You know this. Like, we all agree that he's a pretty weak man. I mean, I'll tell you what, would you say, show of hands, I got COVID, I'm going to retire?
Sean is coping right now, right? What he is doing is looking for any low-hanging fruit that he could find as to say, you know what? I told you, Khamzat Chimaev is a weak man. This is an example of why he is a weak man. He's looking for anything. Look, I've done it. I've fought before. I've done this, okay? I'm like, oh, well, look at this guy. He's drinking a slushie after, weigh-ins. Or, this guy, him and his crew are, a bunch of degenerates. There's no way. You're coming up with these justifications in your mind to try and create any type of low-hanging fruit you have against this person. Hate Love says street fight. Hate Love says that's funny. Aaron Maga says he's from Texas. Okay, shout out to Texas. Woke No Coke says bookies have Aaron Maga 24 as a 295 favorite. LOL. Okay. All right. So we got the odds coming out on that one rather quickly, just based on this chat interaction, huh?
Does that sound like something you would do, show of hands? Because nobody's showing hands here.
But you are asking the press who we're kind of pansy asses. So
yeah, no, but you guys aren't liberal. I mean, you might be a little liberal with the thingy, dude. No, but you're Jack, bro. You're on the TRT, dude. You fuck pussy. It's good. I mean, you don't get on TRT if you don't like to fuck, right?
What are you most concerned about with Khamzat coming into this fight?
It's called cum shot, bro. Come on, dude. This is.
I'm not told.
Bro, we're trying to be professional here. We are professional fighters, all right?
Don't put that on me, Sean.
You're trying to be professional.
I mean, dude, I will say, like, from all the clips he's released, I've seen like a little piece of him. I've seen a piece of him punching that one fag's name, Alan. Such a faggot. Bro, who has an Instagram handle on a truck? Like, the moment I seen that, I was like, I have no respect for you. Anyways. Yeah, no, he has a good straight, good straight. Yeah, good straight, straight. I don't know.
You're not worried about a stand-up, are you? But more of the ground.
I mean, dude, here's the thing about 4-ounce gloves. When you're throwing those little fuckers, dude, like, anything could happen. Like, it's just how shit goes. So to say, I'm not afraid to stand up, like, you're throwing a haymaker that touches you, it's going to suck.
Okay, let's talk about Khamzat Chimaev's striking for a second, right? He has very similar boxing skills to that of Bivol, right? Very similar. And what is that, right? It's the Soviet boxing style that he has, right? A really bouncy move, right? Using a lot of straight shots. I think that is going to vehemently affect Sean Strickland when he gets hit. Look, I told you guys, man, I think Khamzat has better boxing than Sean Strickland, and I think a lot of you are going to be very shocked when you find out, you know, during this fight. So yeah, all right, here we go.
I'm not worried about everything. I'm worried about wrestling. I'm worried about stand-up. I'm worried about knees. I'm worried about fucking everything. But I truly believe I'm better than him, without a doubt. Like, cannot say how confidently I am. From everything I know of him, from all my experience with him, in the ring, out of the ring, I think he's a weak man, and I think I'm better than him. I mean, look at Costa, bro. Like, Costa, you got punked by Costa, bro, the fucking pretty boy, dude. Like, you let Costa come fucking punk your ass. Hold me back, guys. Hold me back, you fucking pussy. That was me. If that was me, I'd take my gun out and hand it to Johnny. I'd tell everybody, get the fuck back. Get the fuck back. All right, Costa, let's handle this shit like man. Now hold me back. I'm an angry Chechen. It's like whenever people like do such theatrics to get into a fight, you just know it's a cowardice, right? Like you never.
Right, like what you did to the police officer who beat up your boy at you know, at that local Vegas event, right? You know what I'm talking about. Let's pull this up right here. This is so once again, Sean Strickland, you know, not an ideologue, doesn't stand on anything, okay? Right here. This is what I'm talking about right here. Look at this. Right here. So this is Sean Strickland. Okay, as I'm going to rewind this part as he's saying this, okay? Let me show you right here.
You let Costa come fucking punk your ass. Hold me back, guys. Hold me back, you fucking pussy.
Yourself in
danger.
danger.
That was me. I'd take my gun.
Hernandez.
Chris. I tell everybody, get the fuck back. Get the fuck back. All right, Costa, let's handle this shit like man. Now hold me back. I'm an angry Chechen. It's like whenever people like do such theatrics to get into a fight, you just know it's a cowardice, right? Like you never see me do theatrics. If you say let's fight, I'm like, all right, well let's fight. But like you're not gonna see me like theatrics, bro. It's one of the biggest signs of cowards.
I'll fight.
Oh, you guys cut my Russian man off, dude. We got some Ukrainians in here. Fucking relax, dickheads. He wasn't there, dude. He's on the front line. He's not flying the drones, fucking dicks.
Thank you for support, sir.
I got you.
So, I know that things between you and Khamzat are tough, but after the fight, regardless of the outcome, is it okay for you to shake his hand?
Fuck, dude. That's a hard one. No, I think the shitty thing is whoever wins is gonna have bragging rights, and whoever doesn't is just gonna have to fucking eat shit till they die, you know. So it's one of those things where you're just like, that's the worst thing about this fight. Like, you know, say I go fight Fluffy and Fluffy beats me, I raise his hand, and I say like, you know, Fluffy, you beat me, do a good job. Dragons beat me, I raise his hand, hey, you beat me, but nah, dude, I think me and fucking cum shot, bro, we die enemies. And then Armin's like, well, and then what did Armin say? What was that shit? In Russia, we don't speak like that. Motherfucker, it's America, bro. We live in a stand your ground state, dude. I mean, we're the Myrtle capital of the fucking world, dog. Like, do you know where you're at, motherfucker? Like, do you know where you're at, dude? You're out there being a billionaire punking little fucking weasels, bro. Is that anybody you see driving, bro, you're trying to punk in America, you take a fucking bullet. So yeah, now maybe the Russians didn't understand where the fuck they're at.
All right, thanks, guys.
Cool. All right, so that last part, I'm going to have to agree with Sean Strickland on that, right? I mean, you know, America, for the most part, is an extremely, extremely, extremely violent place. Okay, there is no doubt about that. This is a very violent country. Yeah, man. He says, you scared Aaron away. Okay, I don't know about that, man. I'm sure he's probably in the background somewhere listening. But yeah, man, that's Sean Strickland in a nutshell, right? Like, again, you know, he says a lot of good points. He says a lot of things that are true. But you also got to understand, right? A clock is correct how many times in a day? Twice. Okay, so he was correct twice in this whole entire interview. He's going to be correct in some things. But once again, you know, I kind of called out the BS of all the other stuff that he was sort of talking about as well. So, yeah, man, with that in mind, listen, okay, we're going to do something a little bit different here. I'll be right back, okay? Let me play this little story that I had mentioned yesterday, right? This is a very interesting story that I think a lot
He's
of you...
had more practices in the bag than Conor McGregor.
All right, check this out.
EJ fighting Hugh.
Okay, so obviously I made a story. I told a story yesterday on my live stream about somebody that I knew who snitched, right? He snitched on a murder, but it's not what you think. I need you guys to listen to this. You're gonna love this, but I'll be right back.
Huge, monstrous men to monstrous situations in people's lives, okay? So I got a story to tell you guys, right? I ran across a homie. Well, I don't know if I would call him a homie. Let's just say that we have mutual acquaintances, right? I ran across him in the gym this weekend, right? So I said, what's up to him? Hey, how you doing? You know, how's life? How's it going? You know, how are the kids? Next thing you know, he tells me a story about a time where he got accused of being part of a 187. And guess what? This wasn't any normal 187. It involved a woman, an innocent woman. Okay, so this homie that I was having a conversation with, he was telling me about his homie who his girlfriend basically kicked him out of the house. Okay, called the cops on him over a domestic situation. And then that woman proceeded to bail him out of prison only to kick him out of the house. So what did he do in the process? He goes and asks some other random white woman, okay, to go drive him at his ex-girlfriend's place, walked in her car in the back seat and shot her in the back of her head. Okay, so now the homie that I was talking to, he told me that this guy who shot his girlfriend went to his house, took his car, and asked him, hey, can I park it in your garage? He had no idea what was going on. Okay, he had no idea what was going on. He had no idea that he had shot this woman or this and that. So next thing you know, one thing led to another. The cops came to his house. And now they wanted to charge him to become an accessory of murder. So guess what he did? He ended up telling on his own homeboy. Now, here's a controversial part about it, right? Because I need you guys to understand, for those of you that are not, street savvy, I need you to understand this, right? You cannot snitch, but at the same time, you also can't harm innocent civilians. Well, what are innocent civilians in the gang world? Innocent civilians in the gang world are people who are women, children, elderly, right? So did he violate those rules? Well, here's the thing, right? If this woman obviously called the cops on him, then obviously we already know that she's not a gang member, right? Because we know that women that are in gangs are gangster bitches, right? What they will do is literally shoot you, stab you, or call somebody else to go and handle their candle upon you, right? Well, she didn't do any of that. She called the cops, got him locked up, but also bailed him out, only to show kind of mercy towards him, and only for her to get shot in the end. And then my friend, well, guess what he did, right? Or not my friend, the guy that came and talked to me, right? He told me that he did tell. Okay, and his homies basically put him out of the hood. Okay, let's just, I don't want to mention what hood this guy is from, but just for intensive purposes or just generalization, okay, he came from a Crip neighborhood. Let's just put it like that, right? Came from a Crip neighborhood, but this happened in Sacramento. So, so just so you guys kind of follow and understand, where the story is at. So that's the controversy, right? Was he in line to snitch? Was it right for him to snitch on that situation? Now, look, here's the thing, right, with me, okay? I never want to be in that situation because you know what, man? That is a very difficult situation to be in because on the one hand, you can't harm innocent civilians, right? But on the other hand, you can't help the police in any kind of capacity whatsoever. You know, this is why, I mean, look, these are one of those stories that, you know, will make you think, like, listen, kids, it's better that you stay in school. It's better that you, you know, stay away from the streets. But guess what, man? Even if you stay in school like I did, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be around people like that, because I've gone to college, or I've been to college, and even after or before the fact, I was still around people like that. It doesn't escape you. But just understand, man, that, wow, what a very controversial situation to be in. So, he says, yeah, stay away from gangs. True. He says, put your murder vehicle in my crib. F out of here. He says, so Holloway and McGregor is happening. Yes. Woke says, a real homeboy wouldn't get you involved in a mess. I agree with that as well. Yes. Depends if you're in a gang or not. If you're a civilian and you snitch away, you pay your taxes. Okay, he says, I'm back. This is interesting stuff. Okay, so here's the thing that I wanted to say about that, right? This guy that was talking to me, he was a gang member. The guy that told me I mean, look, you want my opinion on it? You know, the dude snitched. Okay, now, prior to that, he was solid. He did everything right. He did everything correct. But all of a sudden, you know, this one homeboy, an own ex-girlfriend, and then tries to get him involved. I mean, look, it's one thing if you want your friends to be involved or help you do X, Y, and Z, right? Letting them know beforehand, and then maybe even finding a way to assist you, right? But it's another thing to kind of, I don't know, like, put them in that spot knowing that, you know, you got a hot car in front of you, maybe even a hot gun that came with it, only for him to get raided, because, you know, he legitimately got raided. Because remember, this is how the snitching, you know, happened in the first place. So yeah, man, you know, he says, you think Conor, so this is my prediction. That is my prediction, that Conor McGregor and Max Holloway are going to fight. That is the fight that they are working on right now. So if this fight doesn't happen, the one thing I need you guys to understand, right? If this fight doesn't happen, that is all predicated on Conor McGregor. Okay? I need you guys to understand that. If this fight doesn't happen, it is all predicated on Conor McGregor. Because let's be honest about this, right? Max Holloway, the dude wants this fight. He wants that redemption. He knows, and everybody knows, that he is the better fighter now in comparison to Conor McGregor, right? He is the much better fighter than Conor McGregor. He is a much more improved fighter than Conor McGregor, and he has had multiple fights, multiple 5 rounds over the span of 2021 all the way to 2026 right now. He has had more 5-round fights. He has had more practices in the bag. He's had more practices in the bag than Conor McGregor. He says, too many rematches, new blood. You know what? That's interesting that you said that. That's very interesting that you said that right there, Juice Man, right? So what I got to say to that is, right now, the older generation is trying to phase themselves out, right? So Conor McGregor is 37. Max Holloway is getting up there as well, right? But they're still legends of the game. They can still sell tickets. And for Max Holloway's case, they are still ranked in the top 10 in some kind of capacity, right? So with that, they have to phase them out or use them for the time being that they are here. Look, Khabib said something about Conor McGregor that I think was really profound, that I think, you know, kind of haunts the reality of Conor McGregor's career trajectory right now. It goes something like this, right? Conor McGregor is being exploited by the UFC in his very latter stages of his career, right? He is a circus, a very expensive circus for the UFC to have, and the UFC is just using him until they are done with him. That is what Khabib said about Conor McGregor, and that is exactly what they are doing with Conor McGregor, right? He says Max would eat him alive. He says, only fight I could see him returning is Nate Diaz. it's not just Nate Diaz, I don't think, because Max Holloway is there. Look, in all honesty, if I was Conor McGregor's manager, right, I would think that this is a very bad idea, fighting Max Holloway. But here's the thing. Right now, his managers, El-Kheer, his trainers, John Kavanaugh, they don't really got a lot going on right now. Now, I know El-Kheer is a sports agent, right? The real life Arliss, the real life John McGuire or Jerry Maguire, right? Played by Tom Cruise in a movie, right? Super sports agent, right? He's got clients from the NFL, NHL, or this and that, right? So he's doing okay. John Kavanaugh, maybe he's doing okay because he owns a gym, but he doesn't have millionaire fighters like Conor McGregor. He doesn't have championship fighters like Ian Gary, right? Ian Gary is not part of SBG Ireland. And there's a reason why, Ian Gary is not training with SBG Ireland. There's a reason why he's training with other people around the world, okay? Because they're not a real championship gym. And guess what? What I'm trying to say is that everybody in Conor McGregor's corner right now is trying to push him into a fight. That is what they are trying to do. They are trying to push Conor McGregor into a fight because they want their bag. Dana White wants his bag. John Kavanaugh wants his bag. Audience here, why not? Conor McGregor bag ain't so bad, right? And LA is getting a little bit expensive to live. So he's motivated by that. Everybody that is involved in the Conor McGregor business is motivated and getting Conor McGregor back into the cage, regardless of the circumstances of how hard those matchups can be, and regardless of the circumstances of how detrimental to his health these fights can be, especially with a much sharper Max Holloway. Because yes, I agree, Nate Diaz would be a much better option. Here's the problem, though. The politics that be did not allow Nate Diaz to come back to the UFC for whatever reason, and one thing led to another. He was captured by MVP. That's the name of the game, right? He got lost to the highest bidder, and the highest bidder was MVP. And MVP got Nate Diaz to sign and fight with Mike Perry. And as a result of that, that is what we have. And that's just the reality of the situation. He says, does he have 2 fights left on his contract? Yes, he does. He's got 2 fights left in his contract. He wants to fight in BKFC. And it's really going to be interesting how they're going to how these 2 contracts are going to go about. I don't think they're going to extend their contract with Conor McGregor. They're going to have 1 fight in July. So suppose he loses, okay? What is my prediction of because he's going to lose. Let's just keep it real, guys. Let's keep it a buck. Conor McGregor ain't winning this. He ain't winning this. I told you from the beginning of the live stream, right? The only way that Conor McGregor would be able to win this fight is if he was to knock him out literally within the first round, okay? After the first round, it's going to get much more difficult for Conor McGregor to do anything. Much more difficult. He's going to have a hard time trying to knock him out. And while he's trying to knock him out, he's going to get gassed because he's not a 5-round fighter. Look at the rounds that Max Holloway has been putting in. Look at the rounds. Look at the rounds that he's been putting in. Okay? The rounds that he has been putting in comparison to Conor McGregor, I think is going to be very detrimental for him here, man. I just don't have any confidence in Conor McGregor, and I think that everybody in Conor McGregor's corner is trying to use him as much as possible. That is what's going on here, guys. So you let me know if you see anything different. All right. So obviously that was from yesterday's live stream. We're going to get some training sessions going on right now, guys. All right. We're going to get a training session going on right now. Do a little bit of an open workout. No particular time limit. I could do this for like about a good 5 minutes, maybe, 20 minutes the most, 15 to 20 minute training session that we're going to do right now.
So yeah, man, why not? It's a mixed martial arts channel by the end of the day, but it's a mixed martial arts channel where I actually train, right? None of these, MMA content creators that you see, you don't see any of their training footages or anything that they do. So I don't know what they got going on or what it is that they're trying to do, but I'm here. I'm going to give you guys an open workout right now. So wait a second for just about like maybe 3 minutes or so, okay? All right, y'all. Training session incoming. Training session is incoming, y'all. Here we go. We're going to get a nice training session as we head right outside. Yeah, let's do this. What do we got? Just about 1 minute. Can't wait to get a freaking cameraman so that I could, just have somebody film me while I'm training rather than. But yeah, man, anybody who want to work as a cameraman in California, let me know, man. Let's go. Let's see here. Let's go, man. Let's effing go. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Let's go, bro. That's right. Let's go, bro. Heck yeah.
And that is why you don't wear shoes in MMA. All right, let me, if you guys are seeing me this time. All right, here we go. 20 seconds. Last 20 seconds. Ten seconds. 10, 9. All right. There it is. All right, y'all. Yeah. Little 20-minute workout, getting it in there, getting it done. You know, little short one on Wednesday. Shout out to everybody tapping in. Of course, like and subscribe. Yeah, man. Exciting times ahead, you know, for UFC 328, man. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. Look, in the fight game, we all got our favorites, right? We all got our favorites. Khamzat is my favorite. Maybe Sean Strickland is your favorite. You know, that is if you got low IQ, I suppose. But that's what it is, man. This is a battle of low IQ fans versus real MMA fans. Because let's think about it, right? If you fall into the narrative that Sean Strickland spews, right, where Sean Strickland talks about how, oh, you know, he's going to try to dive for my legs or this and that, you're not a real MMA fan. Because, look, man, I understand wrestling is probably the most boring part about MMA, and I understand that and I get that. But you also got to understand, man, it's part of MMA. It's part of the skill sets. It's part of what you have to be able to do in order to win sometimes and in order to prevent somebody from winning. So, suppose you're a striker and you're taking on a wrestler, you want to be able to stop the wrestler at his tracks and what it is that he's good and what he wants to do. So how do you do that? Well, how you do that is you got to have an anti-wrestling game, okay? And if worst come to worst, if they end up brawling, if they get into a position where they end up brawling, right? I'm going to give that advantage to Sean. No. You'd think that you would give it to Sean, right? Nope. I'm not giving it to Sean on that one. I would give it to Khamzat Chimaev. He is the much more technical striker between them. And if you disagree, I don't know what to tell you, but that's just what it is, man. You know, look, that's another thing about this fight, right? I think people are going to be very surprised of how good the wrestling is for Khamzat. I'm sorry, how good the striking is for Khamzat Chimaev. Of course, we know he's got good wrestling, but when it comes to striking, I think it's very underrated. Khamzat Khamzat is one of those guys that can use his athleticism to propel him into a better striking position, right? And I think that's what you're going to see out of this fight. But on any regards, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one, inshallah. All right, Charles, we're going to sign off on this one to a little bit of a bonus stream. So stay tuned, okay? All right, y'all. Welcome to the bonus stream. All I need is one kill. That's it, and then we're out of here. We get one kill, and then we're out of here.
What's going on?
All right, we might be ready to move on this thing. If you want to work, you'll get a knock on your door any minute. How can I be of service? Okay, I can deal with it. There, you'll have a minute.
There he is right there. Bang! Got him.
Good Lord. Oh, damn it.
Oh, shit!
Shout out Sakai. I'm going to get my get back and then I'm up out of here. Oh my god, man, where are these dudes coming from, man? Okay, I gotta kill this guy one time for the get back.
Can't believe this shit.
Okay, that was bad. That was very bad. Got him.
But isn't my creepy silent friend? How can I help? I can do it, but not for long. You'll have a minute.
These guys are too good, man. damn it.
Hey there. What can I help you with? Okay, I can deal with it. There. You'll have a minute.
All right, y'all. So looks like we had, you know, a pretty what do you call it? Diverse stream. We did a little bit of some gaming, a little bit of some open workout, and then news coverage on top of that. So I mean, it can't get any better than that. All right. With that in mind, guys, that is all that I have for this one right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one.